Hail, glorious listeners, and welcome to episode 47, would you believe? Ben, good evening.
Isn't that like the meaning of life or something?
No, that's 42.
Oh, we've missed that, Jake. Oh,
yeah. Man. Well, we've never been, organisation is not the height of our abilities.
No.
So, anyway, without further ado, after last time's massive rambling intro, tonight, how are you, by the way?
Very well, thank you.
Just thought I'd ask. Tonight, we will go, firstly, as ever, onto the hobby desk. So there's actually been quite a lot of hobby going on. Ben is stuck in a very greenskin-based rut, and I have flitted around like some kind of insane dragonfly. And then, moving on, of course, we have had the reveals from the Nova Open. So loads of cool stuff to talk about. New campaign, new stuff for Necromunda, and a tithe of bones. So lots to talk about there. Into community, so our usual focus on the community. We've got some exciting news to announce with regards to the 2P's and what we've been up to, and also our usual shout outs, a little bit on events. And then lastly, this time we journey to Middle Earth, and I won't be asleep, and I've actually got something cool to talk about. So it's a bit of a miracle, really, isn't it, mate?
Well, the clock's right twice a day. Even if it's stopped.
Yeah, and not to mention, of course, the incredible Rohan stuff we saw from Nova as well. So we've got that to talk about.
Yep.
So lots to listen to. So we best crack on. Guys, grab your refreshments, and we will see you on the hobby desk.
Hail, mighty listeners, and welcome to episode 47 and its hobby desk. What a difficult couple of weeks.
You've been having a lot of fun, haven't you?
Yeah, it feels like I've achieved absolutely nothing, but I think I've painted more in the last week than I have done in a very, very long time. It's been really productive this month, or last 3 weeks, I think, for both of us in a way.
Yes, yeah.
You
definitely.
Especially. I mean, you've been rattling through it.
Yeah, but on the last episode, you let me talk first, and then it got a bit silly. So this time it's your turn. So let's hear about your orcs. Yeah.
We are sat here, both wearing our T-shirts from Clint and Heralds of War.
From Heralds of War. I love it.
Yeah. I love it. It's so I wear it when I go to Chris's house, and his little girl's like, "Oh, a dragon," which is actually the ravening jaws from the Endless Spell. So
yeah.
It's always funny. But yeah.
It's kind of our painting and podcasting T-shirt now, isn't it?
Shall I tell you why? Because when Clint asked for the sizes, I was like, oh, I don't know. And you were like, dude, don't get it wrong, because he's going to make us T-shirts. So I went big with it. And it's just so comfy. Oh,
yeah, that's exactly why I wear mine.
I care not for your cake belly. I shall just be comfortable.
Right. So hobby desk. So I made a decision. It was painful. Took a long time to spend the rest of this year really getting all of my orcs finished, so that from this point onwards I could just add things to those armies.
Yeah.
Like I've got a bit of that, I've had a bit of that, and clear the decks. Now, the other benefit of doing that was that a lot of the starters kits have orcs in, or goblins.
Yeah.
So the 4th edition fantasy starters kit has goblins, my first starters kit, a fantasy starters kit. The 6th edition one had orcs in, which we'll get to in a minute. And then there's the Battle for Black Reach. So I'm going to do 40k ones too. And Hero Quest and Space Crusade, and finish off my Iron Jaws that I've done as well. So it would get a whole big chunk of my collection done, really sort out my backlog, and really get me a lot way closer to finishing that dream of starters kits. Oh, and the 2nd edition 40k one.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So there's
they're going to be
there's
fun.
A few hundred models, and I've broken them into big chunks. And the last 2 weeks I've been working on that. So the first week I finished off the troll. The Dankhold Troll. I was really, really chuffed with that.
He looked ace, mate. Really nice.
Thank you, mate. Lots of contrast on him, just to sort of get used to them. Use the contrast glazy-wise. I spoke about that on the last podcast. And then I set about painting. This is going to sound so ridiculous when I say it out loud, but...
It is ridiculous.
The 6th edition starters kit. So I have 2 Orc chariots, the Orc war boss on a ball from that box set, the 20 YMCA Orcs, the 20 Archer Orcs, and then I've added into that do you remember the war boss that you could buy, and it was on a boar and it was on foot and there was loads of cool bits in there. It's one of the first kind of multi-part box sets for a character that they did.
Do you think everybody's going to be 100% familiar with the village people and the
YMCA Orcs?
YMCA?
Yeah, maybe not.
We can get
I'm
some
not going to
pictures.
sing it. So.
They're in the show notes, but essentially, when you go to those, you all went to those awesome little discos where they played YMCA and you did the actions. Basically, these orcs look like dudes doing the actions. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So, and I've been doing them all as one big batch. And I also did it as a sort of second round of messing around with contrast. So using them as Games Workshop has kind of had envisaged using them. So I started with a Halford's grey undercoat and started off really quite chuffed with it. The Militarum green is an excellent green over Halford's grey to make a simple orc skin. And really, if I was rushing to get them on the table, I could have left it at that, but I did.
No point rushing when you've got hundreds to do, is there, dude? None at all.
So I then glazed over that with the Nurgle Plague Walker, that one, the sort of a yellowy green, and then glazed. I then highlighted up on a couple of the areas with Strachan green. And then a bit of Nurgling green, but not much. Really fast, that wasn't done. I didn't spend much time at all. It was just to clear up some of the stains that you can get with the contrast. And then a wash over the whole thing of Gilliman flesh, really watered down. And then the elbows and mouths with, don't laugh at me, Bugman's flesh. And then the eyes and the deep crevices with purple, Drucci violet. Now, that sounds like a lot, but that only took me 5-6 hours to do near on 60 orcs.
No, that's very good.
Which I didn't think was that bad, actually.
No.
And that's to a standard where I could put them next to my goblins and not go, oh, that just looks horrible. So.
Oh no, I'm impressed then. I was thinking to myself, well, this is Ben's speedy painting, and so far he's mentioned 6 colours to do the skin.
Yeah. It works though. I mean, I could have spent more time being more controlled with it, and in some places I wish I had, but I haven't. Then I went on to, the browns. I've used all of the browns. Some of them are absolutely stupendous, and I forget the names of a lot of them, but, so Wildwood is awesome. Gorgrunter is awesome. So Wildwood comes out like Dryad bark kind of colour.
Really dark one, isn't it?
Really dark one. Gorgrunter is more like the Mornflang. That one. And then there's the other one, Sigil Brown, which is more like the scorchedy brown colour, which I can... Rhinoxide. Those 3 I liked. The Snakebite Leather, not so much of a fan of that. And what's the one that isn't Skeleton Hordes, but slightly darker?
Agaros Dooms?
Yeah, that one. Not a massive fan of that one either. I think that one is meant to be Steel Legion Drab kind of territory, and that's what I've been using to sort of tidy and highlight that up. But on the YMCA Orcs, they worked a treat, all of them. And the ones that I didn't like, I just put a wash of Agrak Searchshade over the top, and they worked fantastically. And I could have left it at that, but I have highlighted them up.
I think it's quite clear that you could not have left it at that. A person said body could have left it, but Ben Hall, P of power, could not have left it like that.
Well, I tried.
But it's that attention to detail, which is why your stuff's amazing. So I laugh, but, you know, when you set up your army, I'm like...
The archers, man.
Sleeves.
The archers.
Do you know, next time we play a game, I'm going to turn up with one of them, like, long sleeve t-shirt jumper things.
I don't know why they've got sleeves sculpted on them. The ones without have got... I mean, they've all got a problem.
Dude.
Oh, whatever, they're orcs. They've always got their guns out.
Yeah,
so
but,
the studded leather armor... Studded leather armor is a work of modelling evil. Right? It is. There's no doubt about it. There's no escaping having to sit there and individually pick out every flipping stud, and it's just a killer on like 20 of them. And then the sleeves, I just could not quickly find a way of doing the sleeves, and I couldn't choose the right colour, and I did some greys, and the greys were too cold, and the army is generally warm, and just got in such a mess with them that I ended up having to individually do them, and they're nowhere near anywhere I'm happy with, but they're just going to have to do. But last night, the 20 archers got finished, and by the end of the weekend, because the others are well on their way, I expect to get the YMCA orcs done, which are great models, actually, the YMCA orcs. The archers are horrible. I hate them. I hate the teeth around their necks. I hate the studded leather armour. I hate the sleeves. I just had enough of them. And what I normally say about old models, how nostalgic and wonderful they are, and etc., etc. These archers can go die and burn in a pit, as far as I'm concerned.
You said to me, you're glad you didn't try and start Warhammer with that box set, because you'd have just put it back and said, that's enough of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the close combat ones, the YMCA ones, are actually like the exact opposite. They are everything a starter's model should be. Really easy to paint, really simple, nice clean lines, and the kind of, they've got like leather laminar armour, so little kind of scales of it. Dead easy to paint that. Really like them. Could dry brush them with no trouble at all. Yeah, so they're quite good. I'm expecting to get all 20 of those finished after we finish recording tonight, actually, Dan. And then that will leave the characters and the chariots to quickly finish off over the weekend. But yeah, that's it. I mean, it's been a struggle because I've been putting a lot of hours in, because I needed to get this batch of 50 done within a week, 2 weeks. Otherwise, the whole project was going to fall on its face and I was going to be behind for the rest of it. But,
well done. It has been painful from afar, I would say.
Yeah. The next thing I've got to do is 20 Yard Boys. And I love painting my Iron Jaws. So when I've got a nice, simple scheme for them that should end up working to do the 20 really quickly.
You've got some already painted, have you, for our boys?
I've got half of them are airbrushed up, and then you can start doing all the detailing. The other ones are black undercoated, and I'm going to do a guide for them.
Cool. Do you have any ready painted though for your Iron Jaws?
Yeah, just 10.
Yeah.
So by the time I've finished,
30.
I'll have 30.
That's
which is
a nice size mob, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. In the pipeline for the Yard Boys, well, for the Iron Jaws before the end of the year, is another unit of 3 Gore Grunters and another unit of 5 Brutes as well. So I'll have 30 Yard Boys, 6 Gore Grunters, and 10 Brutes, which I think is a nice sort of force to start picking from to form the centre of my war.
Yeah, it was a lot less polite to the sort of things you've been shouting this week than war.
Yeah.
Based on the painting, but there we are.
Absolutely not PG in any form at all. So, I got in. I ended up, I don't know if anyone else gets this, but I can't leave a project in a bad place when I stop painting. Otherwise, it plays on my mind. I can sometimes not get to sleep.
Mm.
So and this is going to sound so sad. I can appreciate how bad this sounds, but if I've left a project and I wasn't happy with it, I could sit in my bed and think, is it as bad as I thought it was? And I will go downstairs and have another look at it just to reassure myself that it's not awful. Yeah. And then if I'm like, no, I could fix that, it's fine. They'll be able to sleep, but with the sleeves on these orcs, they kept me up. I went downstairs, looked at them, and I was like, nah, they're still crap. And then I went to work, and the whole day I was like, I'm going to nitromorse the blasted things. I've had enough of them. I'm just going to start again. I hate them. And then you kind of slightly talked me down. And then I got home and I photographed them, and you were like, yeah, they're not that bad. I was like, oh, maybe they're not that bad.
No, you said, I hate them. Is what you said. Not, oh,
and I'm still not happy. I'm still not happy.
This, oh my goodness. It's 20 sleeves.
I know. Do you know what's really bad?
Yeah.
The Goth Orcs from the second edition starters kit have all got sleeves.
Yeah, I know.
And if they're anything like these sleeves, and
they're all identical, but they'll be smaller. There's not as much surface area, is there?
Yeah, these are huge.
Yeah,
it's like massive jump in scale over a very short amount of time.
Mm. Good. Well, I'm glad you've had a positive hobby experience over the last 3 weeks.
It is in a way, because there's this huge chunk. It's a whole half a starters kit done in 2 weeks. To a standard that I don't think is too bad. I mean, it's not brilliant. It's not gonna win South Coast GT best army of these efforts. But I could put it on the table and not be embarrassed. So
good. That's cool. That is very good.
So over to you, because you've been really wrangling your way through it.
I've had a crazy productive hobby, 2 weeks really, which I've really enjoyed. So I decided that I would take a leaf out of Sean O'Neill's book.
We should call it an O'Neill pledge from now on.
Yeah. And combine it with you saying, stop just painting corn all the time. Not mentioning that you're now just painting greenskins, but anyway. Stop painting corn all the time. And I set myself some goals. So, 16th of August, I sort of got out my book and I wrote down the game systems that I play, because what I was finding is I've got lots of cool ideas that I want to do for all the game systems. And when I just go right, I'm concentrating on that one, I get frustrated. So I thought I'd have a go at doing little chunks of all of them. But with an overall direction for all of them. So, game systems that I'm currently actively collecting and playing games when I get the opportunity. So we got Age of Sigmar, 40k, Adeptus Titanicus, Warcry, Necromunda, Middle-earth strategy battle game, Blood Bowl. That might be it. I think that might be enough, actually. I'm just looking behind me at what I've got. Yeah. So, and then I will be adding Aeronautica Imperialis into that, of course. So I just wrote down, and some of it was like one model. So Farmer Maggot and his Hounds was the Middle-earth strategy battle game stuff. 10 cultists, because I've got this desire to have an apocalypse army, and it needs to be bulked out a bit, so it looks like an apocalypse army. The Iron Golem from Warcry, the bulkheads and stuff from Necromunda, because they've just been hanging around for ages. And 2 Blood Bowl Blitzers, done those as well, and 2 Sarastas Knights. I had planned to do a Mighty Lord of Khorne, but because I love our listeners so much, I've dedicated the last couple of days of the month to recording the podcast and editing it. So I probably won't get him done, but we'll see. But yeah, so apart from the Mighty Lord of Khorne, all of that is painted and has been painted over August. Now the Sarastas Knights, to be fair, I did start at the beginning of August, but everything, they were finished and everything else painted between the 16th of August and now. So I'm over the moon. I'm really happy. It's all sat behind me on my table. and I come in and I'm like, oh, I did that. I need swallowing. Blooming heck. So, yeah, really pleased. So I think some cool experiences. I made a lot of mess with weathering powders. It was insane. When I did those bulkheads, I was just like, ah, and then I went upstairs later to do my teeth, and I had like black streaks across my face, and my nostrils were like completely black, where I'd been like wishing it around, and it had come up like a mist and gone up my nostrils. And it was just mental. I just looked like some kind of lunatic. Which is a close thing. But interestingly, like, what I went with those was quite a subdued colour, because it's lots of like, weathering. So Typhus Corrosion is on there. Some of the Forge World Weathering Powders is on there. A very light dry brush at the end of a bright silver. But then because they were so dark, I just did a little bit of OSL, very basic, because it's not something I've had much experience with, but just to bring some colour to it. And I'm really chuffed with it. I'm really happy. So that's great. I'm really pleased. Oh, one thing I did experience there. I put all the weathering powders on. I was really happy. And I thought, I know, I'll just put a load of gloss varnish on to seal it. And it just completely ruined it. It just all sort of, it basically it looked like it had just removed it. Which was, so I was like, well, that's disappointing. And actually, that was a good example, and there's another one in a minute, of where something happened where previously I'd have probably thought, I give up. But I tried to push through it to get the project done. So the other experience was the cultists. So, really funny, I painted Farmer Maggot, and the Cerastus Knights with a bit of contrast paint. So I used contrast on the Cerastus Knights for all the armor plating, the green armor plating, which is the warp, what is it called? Warp lightning, over silver, which I really like, really pleased with that. And I then used, Farmer Maggot is almost exclusively contrast because it's so small. The little hounds, it was brilliant. I painted them in like 10 minutes with contrast. And something I did a lot, which I really enjoyed, was, I suppose sort of blending-ish kind of on the miniature. So putting the contrast on, and then getting the contrast medium and using it to draw it out across the miniature to get that fade, which I was really pleased with. So they were quite quick, and then Maggot was really quick. And I think the only thing that isn't contrast on him is the scythe the actual blade of the scythe. And then I put loads of flowers and gubbins on the bases of my Lord of the Rings models, because I think it kind of helps them stand out quite nicely. So that I was like on a high. I was like, oh, this contrast. Yeah, I'm liking this. So I'm going to paint my cultists with contrast. And I spent 3 hours. We were chatting, weren't we? And I painted up all the base coats, and then I went, they look shite. I was like, they are awful. They just didn't work. And it was over Grey Seer. Not Grey Seer. What's the other one called? Wraithbone. And you and I were talking, and we just feel that it's just too light. And it works better over the more subdued tones. So, they went straight into isopropanol, which reminds me, I need to take them out at some point, or they're just going to disappear. But there we are. And again, that was another point where I was like, oh, sugar. But I got another 10 out, because I got loads of them. And I decided to go, I decided to go traditional, and I base coated them Mornfang brown with the airbrush, because there's no spray. Why is there no brown spray? I know we say this, but it's just ridiculous.
Or Xandri dust. Mornfang brown and Xandri dust.
I think there was a Xandri dust, wasn't there?
There was, but
and there was Mornfang, but it's just ridiculous. What is that about? But anyway, so Mornfang
bring back
brown,
Mornfang.
Yeah,
bring back Mornfang.
Have a little thing about it. So Mornfang brown, and then painted up all the base colours, Agrax Earthshade, layered it up a little bit. Did do the skin by putting on Grey Seer and then putting skin tones on. Really like that. So they got done, and that was cool. The Iron Golem, that was lots of contrast. Pete the Wargamer, fantastic video, really basic. way of painted those. Really basic, actually. It was very, very impressive. It's like grey cere, sprayed grey cere, paint all the metal with a really light metal, and then paint all the metal again, all the armour metal, with Agaros Dunes, which looks great over metal as a brassy colour. And then go in and paint the panels with the Flesh Terror red, or the Blood Angel red. And then a couple of other bits, and then wash it all with a 50-50 Agrax and a medium. And it looks fine. You know, for the speed as well. It was just like, what is this about? This is amazing. And then I've just done 2 Blood Bowl blitzers, which took a couple of nights. I think the only risk is I have been burning the candle at both ends a bit, because I have to get up early for work, and I've been painting until, from when Harriet goes to bed around 9, I've been painting until midnight. So I think what I need to try and do over the next month, because I'll have longer, because I won't be starting in the middle of the month, is maybe give myself a cut-off of 11 o'clock and say I need to stop.
And be sensible about your pledges as well.
Yeah, because I think otherwise I don't want to burn out, obviously, because I'm just really enjoying it, and it's exciting because I'm thinking about projects for different things. I'm like, yeah, I can do that, I can do a bit of that, I can do a bit of that. And it feels like I'm making progress towards them, which is really cool. I did do a video, so there's a video on YouTube, which has got, it's not got the Blood Bowl orcs because they weren't done at the time, but it has got the other things that I finished in the video. And I talk a little bit about this as well. So my intention, this would be one of those episodes you can drag back up and be like, look what you were going to do before you just didn't. My intention is to try and do those every other Wednesday in between the podcasts. Do a little hobby update about what I've been working on and various bits and bobs. And I'm hoping hopefully we'll both be able to do that at some point, but we'll see. Could get a bit more visual stuff out there. But yeah,
I've definitely got a face for radio, me. I am not videogenic or whatever it's called.
Yeah, well, I agree, but you've got a lovely beard over it, so it's okay. You're all right.
Well, my son said that at dinner time today, he was like, Tristan's like, Daddy, I can't decide whether you look like a troll or Hagrid. I think, it's like, cheers, dude. And he's like, I think you look like Hagrid, but you're as big as a troll. It's like, this is getting better. Thank you very much. He goes, well, maybe not quite as big as a troll. A half troll. So I'm Hagrid half troll. Thank you very much, Tristan. I love you lots.
That's excellent. Joshua said to me the other day, completely innocently, Daddy, why are you big? Because you eat too much cake.
Oh, man.
They're great.
Out of the mouth of babes. Yeah, let's send them back. Anyone want... Great.
So what's, what are you doing? Oh, you're doing Ard Boys, aren't you, after this? So that's good.
I am doing Ard Boys after this. I'm really excited about that, actually, Dan.
Good.
My Ard Boys, or my Iron Jaws, my first Age of Sigmar army, and actually, if I'm being completely honest, the first painted fantasy army that I've had since my first high elves.
Yeah.
Like, right back in, but they weren't even an army. They were just bits.
Yeah.
Some units were painted in the army. The rest were sort of messed around with, like you do with kids.
Yeah.
You end up sort of experimenting on every model until the unit doesn't look anything like a unit. So they will always hold a special place in my heart, because not only because they were my first army, but because when I saw the Orc, the Mega Boss on foot in Games Workshop Plymouth, when I just started to get back into things again, that model, I was okay, all right. If that's what orcs are like in Age of Sigmar, I am all in.
Yeah.
Because it was like they took an army and just went, there you go. It's brilliant.
They are wonderful.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really excited about getting those 20 done, because I actually think Ardboys are a really competitive unit as well. They're tough as hell, and they deal damage. For 30 Ardboys is 60 wounds, and their save isn't appalling, and 10 of them are going to have the shields, so they can discount mortal wounds with those. So I'm hoping it's going to make a nice, resilient kind of core unit. The guy I've chosen for like the leader of the shields unit is the old war boss, orc war boss with the big shield and the massive tusks. It's like an early Iron Jaw Ardboy, yeah.
I know the one, yeah.
So he looks ace. The only thing I would say about the Ardboys with shields is that the shields are just a bit small, really.
Yeah, but that's the case with lots of miniatures from the world that was appearing in Warhammer Age of Sigmar.
I did very seriously consider doing them with like plastic card shields, really big ones, like the War Boss leader.
Yeah.
I don't know why I talked myself out of that. Probably time, I think.
Yeah.
But something for another unit, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Cool. So, an exciting hobby desk over the last few weeks.
Well, you haven't told us what you're going to do next.
So, hobby pledges for this month. Where's my little book? Over there. So, I think I can remember. So, for Age of Sigmar, I want to try and get my Chaos War Shrine done. I've had that since Age of Sigmar came out, and it's not painted, so that's a bit...
I still couldn't tell you what a Chaos War Shrine looks like.
It looks like you and me, right, carrying on our backs a door for a house that's loaded up with symbols of devotion to the Chaos Gods.
Huh.
Yeah, serious. I'll find a picture. So that's that. Warcry, I want to do the piece of terrain, which is basically Sigmar's head.
Are you going to do that with the recipe that Runebrush shared, where it's Balthazar Gold?
Oh no!
And then with the Nighthaunt gloom over the top, because I thought that looked absolutely spanking.
Yeah, it does look very. Maybe I will. I don't know.
Yeah, it was Mournfang, then Nighthaunt gloom. You know, the technical paint, and then dry brush with Balthazar Gold. And I've not seen anything that looks so realistically like really old bronze that's gone past having the verdigris and just turned into like a patina. It could have well been a bronze statue for all.
Maybe I'll do that.
That's how I'm going to do it.
Oh no, well I'm not doing it like that then, because yours will just be better.
Oh, don't be such a...
What else am I going to do? Oh, Middle Earth strategy. I'm going to build a Hobbit hole, but I want to talk about that a bit more in the Lord of the Rings section. So that's what I'm doing for that. And 10 more cultists, because cultists, and they're basic and they're a thing I can knock through quickly to have like a feeling of, yeah, I've done quite a bit. They're like a backup. My Reaver Titan, my Blood Bowl Troll, and Aeronautica Imperialis.
The Blood Bowl Troll is a pig, just to warn you.
Yeah, that's alright. It's fine. I've probably given myself a bit much to do, because some of those are big pieces, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think you'll be alright, actually.
Yeah. Well, it'd be great to get to the end of the month and have painted all that, especially that War Shrine, really, and a Reaver Titan. Oh my goodness. Anyway, it's been a joy talking about the hobby desk. It's great when we've both been quite productive, so we don't just sit here going, yeah, so my hobby desk is made of wood.
Oh dear.
Anyway, It is time now to head forth to the galaxy of war. Guys, grab those refreshments. We'll catch you in the grim darkness of about 5 minutes' time. Thunderbolt. Sitting in the cockpit is like sitting at the right hand of the Emperor with a button for cannons. Yes, it is. Oh, I'm so excited. All I can say about an aeronauticus is
That is it. That's it. 40k done. Moving on. I'm so excited.
I'm surprised you didn't grab the cardboard model of the Thunderbolt and just run out of the shop.
Oh, mate, I know. They really need to make those things available.
They do, actually.
Like, they would sell them. I would buy them. Lots of them. And I wouldn't even turn up to a 40k game and try and fob one off as well as a model. Just want them flying around my ceiling. In fact, why don't I just have a Forge World Thunderbolt hanging off the ceiling?
I don't know. I was trying to work out the other day why I don't have a Forge World Thunderbolt, because they have been, like I said, ever since that diorama, have been like a huge influence on how I see the 40k universe. So, loved it.
I know. So we should outline that it's not just about Aeronautica in the 41st millennium today. Although we are going to be talking a fair bit about that, but we also have the Space Marines, dude, have drop-podded in and bringing the Emperor's Wrath. Lots to talk about there. Also Nova as well. So we have seen a whole boatload of stuff from Nova, including Sisters of Battle and Plastic Aspect Warriors and Shrike. So yeah. Where should we start,
just
dude?
two things in that sentence. Honestly, there was a time where I never thought I'd hear it. Plastic Sisters of Battle and Aspect Warriors, man.
I know. But where would you like to start?
I'm not really bothered, actually. I'm quite happy to bimble my way following you through it.
Okay, well then it's Aeronautica. So... so on...
I quite like to start with the Space Marine Calyx, actually, Dan.
Yeah, oh, well, okay then. Okay.
No,
so
no,
the new Thunderbolt models are absolutely incredible. So
yeah, the Thunderbolt fighter is flipping amazing. I went into Games Workshop or Warhammer Bristol on Saturday with Joshua after we'd been into Antics and sorted out his train set. So I was like, right, so you need to be good now because we're going into Daddy's shop now. We've been into your shop. 2 minutes in. I want to go. Oh, flipping heck. So, anyway, I took...
Oh, I've been there recently, mate. I had to escort Tristan out because he was being such a little brat.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
And all because he wanted a gold paint. I'm like, Tristan, I've got, 6 Retributor armors from Conquest magazine or whatever it's called. He's like, but I want one. I was like, well, you can use mine, but I want one. And it's like, on and on and on. Oh, children.
I think shops should have a cage, soundproof cage. You have shops with what is it called? Soft play, soundproof cage. So what we need. That would be fine.
Yeah.
So
can't see that going badly for.
No, I'm sure. So I went in and they had the kit in there. They built some of the aircraft, mate, and they are amazing. Have you seen them in the flesh yet?
I haven't, but just from the photographs, I'm really pleasantly surprised with the scale of them.
Yeah, they're properly big, and they feel good to hold. And Joshua enjoyed zooming one around. Really, really nice. The inside, the mat, the play mat, although it's like a poster, it's not... It's okay. It'll do. The box is only 55 quid. It'll do. Lots of cool templates. Then I saw the transfer sheet and I flipping wigged out with excitement. It is so good, dude. So the Thunderbolt, the wings you see on the top of it in white, that's a transfer and it's in white and black. I was like, ah! And they've done the flames as well for the little Orky aircraft. So you can really go to town and get all your markings and all that stuff on there, and it's packed. The sheet is packed with them. And it could be said I quite like transfers. So I got very excited by the transfers. And then, so what did I do? I pre-ordered, a load of stuff. The cards and the Runesworld book and the cardboard playing surface. Possibly some extra template things. Oh, and some random Hobbits, but they're not going to be in Thunderbolts. They're just because I wanted some. And, yeah, so I pre-ordered all of that, and then I drove over to Big, and I pre-ordered the box game, because I wanted to spread out the love a bit, and I needed to pop over to Big anyway.
Yeah.
So very, very excited. I've watched about half the video with Becca Scott in it. I believe there was something about rules in the video as well, but I didn't really take it on board, unfortunately. So I do need to pay a bit of attention, next time. I've read some of the stuff online, and it sounds like there's quite a lot going on rules wise, because you've got altitude, and I think you've got altitude and speed, and lots of different maneuvers and tokens and all sorts. But I cannot wait to give it a try. What I didn't do, this is incredible, I didn't buy any additional models or the ground assets, because I was like, I'm going to get these. I bought everything else connected to it. Actually, no, I didn't buy the dice, because I was like, I don't need any more dice. So yeah, looking forward to it. Are you something you're going to pick up, dude, do you think?
Yeah, I should think so. I don't really know. It's a problem, isn't it? Because when it comes to like choosing your army, because I really want to do the Imperial, but everyone's going to do Imperial. And I don't want to end up doing two armies of them, but we'll see. I don't know whether it's going to end up being a game where, of large scale combat, or how much, how big will it get is what I'm getting at.
Mm.
But I'm hoping that the board size and the number of models is going to remain relatively constant, actually. So you just choosing your different stuff on there rather than, ending up with like 10 wings of fighters could get quite expensive, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think
when you're doing it for two separate forces.
Yeah. It would probably be good to pay. So I was on about splitting it with Ben.
Yeah.
But when we looked at it, because you get the rules in the Runesworld supplement. So we were like, we could split it and then he could buy that. But then by the time he looked at it and he said, right, I've got to buy that. Then I've got to buy the base board and some tokens. And it just got a bit like, well, because I was going to do the orcs. Because you know what I'm like. I'm always happy to take one for the side and be the bad guys in these box sets.
Yeah, I mean, you often have to have your arm pulled.
Yeah, I do, yeah. But I put myself out there and do it. But when we worked it out, we were like, for £55, you might as well just buy his own. And plus, I wanted both sides in the end, really, because I was thinking, like, it's not something that everybody's going to dive in on.
No, and that's, yeah. And then you'll have the set to play when people come over.
Exactly. And then we just need to wait then for the chaos to come out. Oh, I'm going to have little baby Helldrakes, dude. It's going to be amazing. I could do like a nest. I could make a 40k nest with them coming out of little eggs.
Goodness sake. I'm quite excited about the Eldar, actually. I really love Eldar aircraft.
Yeah.
I think they're really nice.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll look lovely in that scale. And,
the best thing is, the Necrons, you'll look like you're being attacked by a miniature continental breakfast. How cute is that?
Oh, dear me.
So yeah, I'm really, I am really hoping to do some videos, a little bit about it.
Come on, Dan, explain to everybody how you prepared for your videos.
I may have been onto Amazon and made a purchase of a certain hat and a pipe. So, watch out for next week's hobby update, because
it'll be biggles.
It'll be ridiculous. So yeah, that's Aeronautica. Shall we talk about Space Marines?
Yeah. With all the normal caveats that I have not actually hugely read all of the rules section in this book, because I don't tend to dive into that part before the others. What I have been doing is looking at the background side, because if people have listened to us for a while, they know I had like a ton of questions about what happens now when you're making a Space Marine, effectively, from the ground up. And that's been answered, which is really, really cool. So it talks through all of the normal stuff that you get in the start of Space Marine Codex. It's nice to see a lot of it's been rewritten in a variety of ways, but and then it goes on to like some really cool stuff. So the making of the Space Marine and then the Primaris Space Marine is explained, and they are kept slightly separate. But now, when they're listing the Space Marine organs, it doesn't really differentiate, doesn't separate off the Primaris ones. So they're kind of there within them. What it then does, and this is my absolute favourite part of the whole book, is there's a 2-page spread called In Memoriam. And it's the life of Ultramarines Primaris battle brother Gaius Palandus. And it talks through his career in the Ultramarines, from the moment he's an aspirant all the way through to when he cops it fighting Death Guard in the first company. And it's the perfect way to explain what happens when a person's recruited and what their journey through the chapter might typically look like. Because in the past, it was fairly straightforward. A Marine was an aspirant, or an aspirant came to be selected. It was fairly standard that, hundreds and hundreds per intake would die before they made it to the scout company. And then, the scout company would train them as Space Marines. They'd stay in the 10th company until they'd proven themselves and they were, biologically stable. And then they'd work their way through the Devastator Assault Company, Devastator, then Assault Company. And eventually, after having proven themselves in the reserve tactical companies, end up in one of the primary battle companies. And hopefully, if they're lucky, make it into the first company. It's pretty much the same as that now, apart from there's a little kind of extra fine grain to it. So as they're working their way through these companies, they take on different roles. They do, there's a cool bit in it where he spends a period of time driving a tank, because that's his sort of placement in the tactical company.
What sort of tank does it tell you?
It does tell you, yeah. Let me just get the page back over. I closed it and put it down on the side. I'm going to have to find it now in this huge...
I might fill the void with tank noises.
There's a point where he gets so injured, he has to spend a couple of months recovering. And he comes back so angry that they stick him in a suit of aggressor armour, and just say go nuts.
I remember basically. You saying that. Did you just pick up the Codex, buddy, or did you pick up one of the supplements at all?
No, I didn't. I didn't pick up my supplements. I really want to do that. Yeah, so Palandus was observed by the company's chaplain as harbouring a burning well of anger and hate that needed to be expunged before he could acquire the clarity required to join the battle companies. He was thus assigned to an aggressor squad, joining Strike First Callistus as they struck out to break the siege of Astoria. Yeah.
Working through your anger issues, Space Marine style.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, here we go, yeah. Upon advancing to the reserve battle line companies, Palandus served first as a crewman for a repulsor executioner, attached to a series of strike forces pushing back the Orcs at the Charadon sector. He briefly reprised his vanguard role during the culmination of this campaign, fighting as an infiltrator. I love the fact that they're just alternating between roles as required, putting on whatever armour they need to do it.
Yeah.
It was exemplary conduct during these operations that earned him the right to join an intercessor squad. Palandus took up the sacred bolt rifle and battled Tyranids on Hothsbane. There's a Freudian slip there. It's really, really good. Really, really good. It's a fantastic way of doing it. And then a couple of pages later is my next favourite background page, where it talks about beyond the Ultima founding. So, the Awoken, the Indoctrinated, and the Ascended are the three kinds of Primaris. The Awoken are the first ones, so the ones that were created over 10,000 years, recruited shortly after the heresy and beyond, and turned into like the first wave of Primaris that were released. The Indoctrinated are the ones created by the Space Marine chapters, using the equipment that they've been given by Guilliman. And then the Ascended are the ones that are going through the Rubricon Primaris, which is pretty cool.
Does it go into any more detail about the Rubricon Primaris?
Yeah, a little bit, but not a great deal, I would really.
I mean, I guess it's ultimately a surgical procedure with some kind of spiritual elements, as
it's
all
essentially
good 40k things are.
So they've already turned it into a little bit of a mythology thing. So, in short, could he cross the Rubicon Primaris to become a yet greater living weapon to the Emperor's service, or would attempts to do so simply waste priceless societies' lives at a time when the Imperium could ill afford to sacrifice its greatest defender? Records differ as to who the first spaceman to take this perilous leap of faith. Some say it was Minus Calgar of the Ultramarines, or was it Kasara Khan of the White Scars, ferocious master of the Hunt, who first made this transition? Other chapters make their own claims, or else lament the tragic loss of those who tried and failed to ascend. Yet despite the losses suffered and the unspeakable agonies of undertaking the Primaris ascension, more battle brothers cross the Rubicon with every passing day. So, I love it when the 40k does that there's like this established thing. Minus Calgar was the first, but then other chapters are like, well, actually.
Yeah.
Which I really like the idea of, because really the Rubricon isn't like a magical device, and I would really have hated it to be that. It was what happens if we open up an Astartes and stick in the Primaris organs. Would they survive it when they're adults? That's the Rubricon Primaris, and it wouldn't have taken long before an apothecary in one of the other chapters was like, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really chuffed with the background section. I do think that it is paving the way towards the Primaris becoming the norm. Which I think how you take that depends on your view, really. And I'm not massively opposed to it. I don't have an issue with it. Other people will do. But I think if you embrace it, it's quite exciting, because there's just a future of new models and new stuff that's going to come out of that change. So it's pretty cool. Rules wise, I have to say, I'm not going to bring out any specifics, but the changes they've made, I think, are really good. Really, really good. Love the extra attack. Love the changes they've made to the Space Wolf stuff. That's really cool. Or the Primaris with the Space Wolf keyword.
Sorry, I know I'm absolutely cracking at focusing entirely on what you're saying.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm used to it. It's like,
but
I get the same level of engagement actually talking to the microphone. Me and my blue
I'll tell you
podcasting
why,
microphone have a much more interactive relationship.
I'll tell you why. You intrigued me about the Rubicon, so I looked up what it means. That's why.
Okay.
So, do you know where it comes from?
The Rubricon?
Yeah.
It is the change, isn't it? Or something like that.
So, to cross the Rubicon means to make a decision or take a step that commits one to a specific course of action from which there is no turning back. The expression refers to a decision made by Julius Caesar. In 49 BC, Julius Caesar was the governor of Gaul, which meant he had to give up his power in Rome. He was expressly forbidden by the Roman Senate to bring his troops back to Italy. When Caesar crossed the Rubicon, a stream that separated Gaul from Rome, he sparked a civil war. And when crossing the Rubicon, Caesar famously uttered, "The die is cast," as he knew where this decision would inevitably take him. Isn't that cool?
Well, there you go. That is cool.
So I'm very sorry for being distracted.
But it's a bit of a history lesson, and I love it. So we're good.
But there we go. I've just thrown that in there. So back to the rules that we're renowned for knowing.
Or not renowned for knowing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the most important thing is, I've just spotted, having read through the FAQ, that poxwalkers don't get the extra attack now.
Oh, did they have
good.
the Astartes rule? Did they?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Which would have been
I love the idea
horrific.
of poxwalkers with like a shock and awe assault. A shambling shock and awe. This is sort of like come in and then eventually reach the enemy and the enemy is like, whoa, where did they come from?
So, there's a lot of things that have become canon in there now, like the bolted discipline, shock assault people are probably well aware of by now. It's a +1 to attack when they're charged, when they're charging, sorry.
I think it's when they're charged as well, isn't it?
If the unit makes is charged, yeah. So yeah, basically whenever they get in combat, they get to kick ass. They should. They're massive. They punch heads off of people by flicking them. You know,
Yeah.
But I really think that they should. And I'm not, as much as I joked last time, Astartes should get it regardless of whether they're Primaris or Astartes. So I'm very happy that the Chaos ones have got it too. Really happy with that. Otherwise I haven't really gone through in a kind of fine look at the little bits way because I'm not prone to doing that. My brain doesn't work in that way, really. What I normally do is shamelessly watch everyone else's tactical analysis and form an in-depth opinion on that.
Yeah, but to be fair, in my experience, I rock up having thought carefully about my list, played games, read my codex, set up against you, and you say, I don't really know what I'm doing, and then promptly smack my army around a bit. Then I have to go home. It's like me playing board games against my wife.
I've always played 40k and fantasy by playing the army as I feel it should be played.
Yeah.
And if I remember the rules, then that's great. But, when I play Space Marines, I do drop pod assaults and I play in a really tactical way and I think, what would a Space Marine do? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
It is good though, at least that way you can be pleased.
I mean, there's every codex you get a thing, isn't it? Slam Captain was the thing before. Now, apparently, Chain Captains are the thing.
What's a chain captain? Turns up
Captain with a chainsword.
Oh right, okay.
Which, if you want to know how to do a conversion of one, Darren Latham did a great video on it.
Oh, sweet.
I like the way he does his captains with like the Inceptor legs with jump packs. It looks great. I think they look awesome.
Mm. So I guess with the new codex then, how are you going to maintain your focus on greenskins, and what would you like to do with the codex now that it's...
Well, I'm very slowly creeping back into my... Because the problem is with my Space Wolves is I labour on them too much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't just get them done. I've got boxes of stuff that need putting together and painting for Space Wolves, but I'm very, very keen to start messing around with my Iron Snakes again.
I just downloaded today from Audible Brothers of the Snake.
Yeah.
And I pre-ordered Double Eagle for some aviation badassery.
Yeah, I've been thinking about how to do them, and I was going to sort of zenith up with... Because the whole point of the Iron Snakes was that I could field apocalypse level stuff if I needed to, but be able to take time on a model if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make a company of Marines. That was the original idea. Tabletop standard. So I've been thinking about using the Vallejo metals, airbrush metals, starting dark, bit of a zenith, and then Black Templar over the top, because I like the dark steel that's on the front of Brothers of the Snake.
Yeah.
I was really disappointed to see in the Space Marine Codex that they've done the Iron Snakes with the bright steel.
Yeah.
I know that's how people paint them, but I like them dark because they look like they should be gunmetal to me, like really deep, dark colours. And then weathering powders, I think. Bit of chipping using a bright steel. over the top. I had actually wondered about whether it would be worth doing chips and ceramite, see what that looked like. So, the Space Marine armor plates are a ceramic, and they've been often described as being cream rather than metal. So they would look like the ceramic plates on the outside of the shuttle. And I had thought about doing that. So because the metal would be quite dark, you can't chip metal with metal.
No,
I don't think it would look right. So I thought, what would happen if I sort of did the chipping with, I don't know, something like Rakath flesh or maybe pallid witch flesh or something like that.
Mm. Yeah, well, it'd certainly be interested to have a look. But I do think it's a good idea that you bring basically what you apply to your Stormcast and Nighthaunt, that kind of painting approach to Space Marines. And I think you're right to come away from your Space Wolves and keep them as almost your showcase. Because your level of painting, even on stuff that you're knocking out, your brush control is such that it's still really good, and your techniques mean that it's still really good, but quicker.
Thanks, Steve.
So I think that's well worth doing. And the nice thing about it as well is it means that you will be able to field an Apocalypse army. And of course you're probably going to want to revisit things and add in some of the newer units, but you've got a really nice core to start with. For your Iron Snakes. And you can, even from a narrative point of view, you can represent that point when the Primaris join.
The fourth company, yes, because the fourth company is gone.
Yeah. Where is Ithaca?
No idea.
Do you know if it's which side of the Cicatrix Maledictum it is?
I think it's on the slightly better side.
Yeah, the slightly better side.
Not the oh crap side. Do they have? They normally have a map.
Is that a bit like living in Plymouth but coming from Mill Bay instead of Devonport?
Something like that, yeah.
How many listeners have we just lost?
Well, we can say it because we've both lived in Plymouth. So.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no map. What's that about? There must be a map. I cannot believe there's not a map.
Is there not?
No, there's no map. Broken. Devastating.
Oh, no. That's a surprise.
I would have thought that's a given page. No map that I could find. I flicked through 3 times. Yeah. Well, there we go. That's that then. So I don't know where Ithaca is.
In the Reef Stars, in Segmentum Obscurus.
Well, I knew it was in the Reef Stars because that was Dan Ablett's little area, but I couldn't tell you where they were.
Oh. Right, well, you keep talking and I'll try and cover up the fact that we don't know this obvious thing. So the Segmentum Obscurus is right up the top. So oh dear, they're in a bad... Yeah. Okay, so they'll be on the other side, I think.
Really?
Yeah, looks like it.
Oh dear.
Oh,
I was just going to get the 40k rulebook out, because that'll have it in there.
Yeah.
The preparation for these podcasts could, save us ages. Oh, here we go. Right. Segmentum Obscurus, yeah, well, that's on the bad side.
Bad day.
Yeah, where's the Reef Stars then? Yeah, however you cut that, it's on the bad side of the, mind you, says the Gothic sector.
Yeah. So, you could have you need to paint up a lone custodian.
Do I?
Yeah, and his little bodyguard of dudes. Well, not bodyguard, I don't know if custodian would have a bodyguard, but you have a load of followers.
Well, the one who brought the,
yeah, who brings the Primaris stuff to them. That'd be sweet, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're such a superstitious bunch as well that the Iron Snakes, I wonder how they would deal with it.
Well, and that's interesting because I think that's where you can quite easily still see chapters where a significant number are still non-Primaris Astartes for exactly that reason. And even envisage having, if not 2 chapters that are identical operating separately, but one Primaris and one non-Primaris, end up having successors, I suppose, created because the parent chapter will not accept the Primaris.
Yeah, absolutely.
Won't let them in. And actually that in itself would then cast suspicion on the parent chapter. And the opportunities for narrative are fantastic. Really good.
Yeah. It's a lovely kind of starting point for Dan Abnett to write a sequel for Brothers of the Snake, really, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, very much so.
Hint.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's a regular listener. Yeah.
Oh,
keep
well,
the
you never
hinting
know.
going. No, that sounds immense. Can you imagine the Flesh Tearers? How that would go down?
Not well.
A bunch of Primaris turning up at Cretaceous.
So, before we fill the whole podcast full of speculation about
Space Marine.
which chapter Space Marines, shall we move on to some of the awesome stuff we saw at Nova Open, dude? Or not us personally, but on the reveal.
I think that's a good idea. So we'll start right at the top, because I think the first thing was the plastic Howling Banshee.
Yeah.
Although actually that comes from
Psychic Awakening.
Yeah, that comes from Psychic Awakening then. So new campaign arc.
Like the Vigilus books.
Yeah, much like Vigilus, but much bigger. Going to be more books. So first thing I wanted to talk about with that was that I did see a comment, and I did respond to it actually, and I'm so sorry that I can't remember who it was from, but it was a fair comment, which was to say that it seemed almost cheeky to create a whole load of these separate books that you need to buy to keep your army up to date.
Yeah.
And my initial feeling was, yeah, I kind of agree with that. But then I thought, well, actually, let's reflect on what that allows to happen. So instead of having to wait 4, 5, 6, maybe more years for your codex before you get any new models, these updates allow Games Workshop to revisit all the armies quite a lot more often. Which I really like.
I think his argument was, and I agree, it's a fair one, that actually these update rules could well be done as a free PDF download to supplement your codex. And I can't say I disagree with him, because
No, I agree.
If you're having, your Vigilus book had some in, and this one will have some in, and you'll end up with 15 campaign books potentially over the next 5 years to try and stay current with your armies.
Yeah, I wonder if what we'll see, because what I would almost imagine is each book will have updates for a certain force,
unit or
race in it. So I wonder if we'll see, like happened with Chaos when Shadow Spear came out. So Chaos got a Codex Mark II, which then had all the extra stuff in it. So you didn't have to buy, you either had to buy the Vigilus book, which then supplemented your Codex Chaos Mark 1.
Yeah.
Or you bought the new Codex. Some absolute lunatics bought both, but you didn't have to do that. Really interesting.
It's... In fairness, I think it's a learning curve, isn't it? Because I've got... One of the things I'm really struggling with at the moment is keeping up with the books.
Mm.
There is a lot of them, and it is a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about keeping up with all the different books. If you're a collector, you only have to look at my shelf to know that if a codex came out, I bought it.
Yeah.
Now I don't, because I cannot do that. Because if you think about the Space Marine one for a start, if you bought every supplement, you could end up spending £200 on Space Marine codexes.
Yes.
Which is astonishing, really, when you think about it. But I'm talking about core rules here. So if you play, let's just take, for example, what I play. Kill Team, 40k, Age of Signar, Blood Bowl, Necromunda, Titanicus, and Aeronautica. So, there's been two Necromunda books I haven't got because I haven't had the pennies, and I've missed those, and now I'm going to have to catch up. There's a book coming out on the day of release for Aeronautica. They're rattling through books for Kill Team. I mean, we're on our third or fourth now.
Yeah.
So it gets to a point where actually I just feel like sometimes I've lost track of what I have got and what I haven't got.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised one day if I walked into Games Workshop and go, "Oh, I need that," picked it up, brought it home, and was like, "Oh, I've got that."
Yeah.
Because there's been so many, I can't remember.
Well, it's the same.
As daft as that may seem.
It goes back again to what we've said before about if, what the offering now from Games Workshop's Worlds, there is enough for one single system that if you were only interested in that system, you would be kept
Happy
busy,
bunny.
Isn't
Yeah.
there? Which means when you broaden that to we love the whole thing, it is massive. It does seem very overwhelming. And then I guess the other part of it, which is talking about the rules, is you get back to that old sort of question of, do you need to sell the rules for your game, or is it enough just to make them available? So, and the reason I say that is thinking about the books. So, say they're going to make a campaign. Well, they're going to do Psychic Awakening. If they only sold, if they didn't put or if the rules were available for free, so all the rules were available, but the background was obviously in the books, and obviously they were selling, would they sell enough of the books still and miniatures to make doing Psychic Awakening as an arc? How much would they lose by not putting the rule, by making the rules available separately?
They're only going to know if they try it.
Yeah, I know. And would they sell any more, I suppose, is the other thing, isn't it?
Well, to be honest, genuinely, I would buy other stuff. I would buy the book because I'm a book guy. I know there's people who aren't, but I'm a book guy. I love having a book, I love opening the book, I love the smell of a book, I love holding it, I love flicking through it, I love all of it. So there will be people who are like that, but equally, I think, the people who aren't will buy more other stuff.
Oh yeah, I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes from, isn't it? It's like, your pot of money is as big as it is.
Yeah.
And actually, especially for us, I suppose maybe it's different for us, but not just us, obviously, but maybe because you've got so many different types of hobbyists, haven't you? You've got people like us who, in truth, pretty much probably 95% of my expendable income goes to Games Workshop. That's where I spend that money, because I don't buy computer games. I don't very, very rarely buy a board game. I don't buy mobile games on my phone. I don't really go out, apart from playing golf a few years ago, I don't go out and spend it on sport. I don't go to big events and festivals anymore. So it just all goes on GW. But then I suppose there are other people who would spend maybe 10%, and then it's trying to win a bit more from them, isn't it? So sometimes it gets frustrating because it doesn't matter. Games Workshop will get my money. I have to decide what it's going to go on. And I'm like,
But if you're one of those 10% people, and say you're playing Necromunda, and we're on book 4 now. So rule book, gangs, and then 2 supplements. That's 4 books. If you're all of your income is going on keeping up with that, you're not buying the models, so you can't play the game. Whereas theoretically, if those books were free, that's 30 quid they could have spent on a piece of scenery.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Which would for me, if I was focusing on one game, I'd want it to be about the models making a nice board and that. But that's that. But I think it's what it sounds like it's doing, pushing the storyline forward, having a campaign running the shops that is going to dramatically and permanently affect the timeline of 40k. Love that kind of stuff. All of you good players, get down to Games Workshop and thrash the chaos until their eyes are bleeding, because I cannot stand another massively catastrophic event. We've had enough of them.
Did you notice that the Dark Angel and Space Wolf players cried so hard that their own little symbols weren't on that thing? Despite, it being very clear that every faction was getting upgrades, that they went back and updated that picture to have the Space Wolf and Dark Angel symbols on.
No, the Space Wolf and Dark Angel symbols are just so powerful, they did it themselves.
They just manifested on there.
So, the plastic aspect warriors, man.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Oh, it's such an exciting thing. Especially when it's talking about a Phoenix Rising. I mean, they're going to get a new Phoenix Lord.
Oh, of course.
I do not need an Elder army. I don't.
I know, but that's the. I must admit, I've sketched out a Space Marine army this week, and I've sketched out a Biltan Eldar army this week, as concepts and ideas. Because these are revisiting things that were like some of the first things I explored in 40k, and therefore are extra exciting.
Yeah. I've got so much Eldar kicking around that people have given me or come in boxes as the second thing. I could probably start a decent army just by accident.
Yeah. So, what's nice is you can pretty much guarantee now we'll get plastics of all the aspect warriors.
I hope so.
And like you say, I think probably a new Phoenix Lord. Really exciting to see Eldar. It would be great to see Eldar as a key part of a story arc rather than just an add-on.
They've been like backseat players for a long time now. Like really long time. They've just sort of been attacked by the Tyranids and just about won, or turned up here and done that, or... I mean, I suppose when the Awakening of the Primarch, they were massively instrumental, but again, they weren't, they just sort of did it from the sides. I'd love them to be just properly there and just being awesome.
I guess the challenge is that if you think about it, what you've just described is the background for the Eldar race. That is what they do. So, but I do know what you mean. Like once upon a time, they seemed like
players.
Yeah, and like when they made a decision that something was going to happen, it happened. That was it. But not so much now. So, well, it would be great to see. And so, at risk of glossing over the excitement of Aspect Warriors, let's talk a bit about Shrike.
Yes, I love Shrike. The hair, everyone's had a little thing about the hair, but you know what? I'm going to put it out right now. The Raven Guard are emos, okay? That's their aesthetic. I like it. I'm not an emo myself, but I like it on the Raven Guard. That's kind of them. The fact that he looks a little bit like that is absolutely fine. And if he's jumping from the skies and massacring chaos while listening to him on his earphones, who cares?
Yeah. Did you like the thing I found online with the My Chemical Romance lyrics?
Yeah.
I thought that was cracking. Really good. And I love the model. Don't get me wrong. I love the model.
Oh, he's so good. There's so many awesome just straight off the bat, it's a Primaris with a beaky helmet.
Yeah.
That is wicked.
So I would put the beaky helmet on, but only not because I don't like the hair, but because I would like that as a homage to the previous model, because that was a really distinctive thing about Shrike, as was.
Well, you'd have to carve the one off of his belt.
Yeah, well, that's why I was wondering. I haven't seen the sprue, so is it cast on or is it separate?
What, and have a head option?
But then, if it was a head option, you see, I think they would have painted it up and shown us it as a head option.
Yeah, I agree.
Because that's what they normally do.
I love the foot claws, man.
Yeah.
The retractable foot claws. I love the fact he's in Phobos armor. He's like, right, give me your biggest jump pack.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, not that one. Your biggest jump pack.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I can see him rattling down from space like a comet of hate. I think he's just fantastic. And he's got claws on each hand, but has like that silenced pistol and the claws can retract. That's the sort of thing that I just loving about the new Primaris, is that someone's given it a bit of thought and thought, well, actually, what if he doesn't want to just use his claws all this time? How would he go about using a pistol? And the retractable claws does two things. One, it's really practical, and two, he's like Wolverine! So, it's just amazing.
Sorry.
No, you're not.
No, I am, because, but in truth, I was just looking at a message from my mum, and the importance of that and why that is relevant is because I'm trying to arrange her to come and spend time with Harriet and, Hannah and Joshua while I go to Warhammer World. So yeah, that's why that was important.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look at me like that. I'm not sure if I like the fact that we have the screens now, because I can see how disapproving you are of me. So yeah, so we were talking about the aspects, weren't we?
Dan?
Talking about the aspect warriors, weren't we?
No.
Yeah. No, I also like the retractable claws, Ben.
Good.
And now I'm worried that you might have been on to talking about something else.
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, well, there we go. I'm sure it was thrilling. So it's fair to say that 40k is in an exciting place.
We haven't finished yet.
I know.
This is Sisters of Battle.
I know. And then I was going to say, if you'd let me finish, it's fair to say that 40k is an exciting place, made all the more exciting by the Sisters of Battle. That was almost convincing, wasn't it? I'd completely forgotten them. So, Sisters of Battle. Go on then, get excited.
I'm so happy.
Ah,
I am. I know. Yeah, I am. I just think that they've done a cracking job. I do. There's a lot of things I'm interested in what we're seeing. So, are they monopose? Are they full kits? So are they more like a starters kit model, or are they more like, the full Primaris sprue, for example? That's something I'd be interested in. Same as they did with the Stormcast. So, you got the Secretors and then the Secretors. Interested in that. I'm not going to be too bothered if they're monopose, because the multi-pose will come out eventually anyway. So
well, and also they're monopose. They've been monopose for flipping 20 years in metal.
Yeah.
And actually, there's a lot of models now in plastic, new models coming out that are monopose anyway, like characters, and they can be very intricate, but ultimately they're still monopose. And at the very least, they're going to be easier to convert than they were, and they're still lovely.
Yeah,
they are lovely.
I love the fact that they're like tall and lithe. I love the fact that there's lots of helmets in there. Like there's far more helmets than there ever were. Because I love the Sisters of Battle helmet. I think it's a very, very nicely designed helmet.
I think originally when they came out, they didn't have any helmets, and then they went through like a redoing a bit later, didn't they? And they put helmets on them, and I remember thinking those are really sweet. When they brought out the Dominion squads, I think. And
the flamey tank had a plastic helmet. Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Whatever that was called.
The flamey tank.
The flamey tank.
It was called a Retributor, possibly.
Maybe.
The flamey tank. Yes. Okay.
Artwork article today looks loving.
Yeah, I love that front cover. Isn't that cover gorgeous? Isn't it just so 40k?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's immense. And the big battle where they're like unleashing doom upon the Tau. That's like, I love it. Because the Tau are like all about enlightenment and science and technology. And the
The
sisters are just
Sebastian
not.
like the exact opposite. No, they're
They're
like,
just not about that at all.
no. And there's the lass at the front with the massive two-handed sword about to cleave into them. It's like, yeah. That reminds me of the Black Templar cover where there's the absolutely munted Black Templar with all the scars on him. Like, done it a few times. It's just charging elf leather into the middle of him.
Immolator, this flamey tank is called.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Sounds
appropriate. My favourite thing so far has to be the Hospitaller.
Mm-hmm.
I just absolutely adore that. The sister on the floor, like reaching out for the light with her hand and holding onto a like little symbol, and the Hospitaler's there. I'm not really sure why she's there. Is she like saying the last rites, or just sort of trying to help, or decided that nah?
I think in the article about it, they suggest that the idea is that she's saying the last rites, and it's that mix of Medicaid come chaplain type thing, which is really interesting about the Sisters Hospitaller.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's actually now a full battle sister. So the original model, which I actually quite liked, was more of a stripped down armor, whereas this woman it's a bit more akin to
chaplain or something like that.
Yeah, it's like taking an apothecary and a chaplain and mixing them up a bit, isn't it? Which is probably why you like it.
I like it.
Because that's like the wolf priest, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so that's I've just twigged on that. I could talk about Battle Sisters for a long time, dude, but I'm very conscious that this Galaxy of War is now at about 50 minutes long.
Yeah.
And much as I know people love to listen to our dulcet tones, I'm sure they're itching to get to the Mortal Realms.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So, guys, as ever, let us know what you think of the stuff that's coming out. You guys are great. You've been interacting a lot, actually. It's been really cool. Phone keeps going ping, 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 as we see some interesting stuff. But do keep us up to date. Tell us what you think. But for now, we are going to go and find ourselves a realm gate and travel through to the Mortal Realms. I'm just doing a rocking out face, and it's a flipping podcast. I'm just mental.
And bursting into the forest like two mighty stormcast comes the 2P's, chained together and on space hoppers. That reference will make sense later.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
Now, I could be listening into the community section, won't it?
Absolutely. If you want to know more, go and listen to the community section. So, the Mortal Realms, dude.
Yeah. Tomb Kings, not Tomb Kings.
Tomb Kings, not Tomb Kings. Right, so the first challenge is pronunciation, isn't it? So these guys
No, it's not. It's dead easy. It's Tomb Kings. Samurai Tomb King. No, I'm joking. They're lovely. Go on, do it. Whatever they're called.
Osirark Bone Reapers?
Osirark.
Osirark Bone Reapers?
Osirark Bone Reapers. Mm.
It's okay. We'll go to well, no, there'll be a designer's commentary at some point, and they'll pronounce it, and we'll know then.
Yeah, but then some of the designers called Hearth. Hearth?
Called what?
Hearth. I can't remember whose video I was listening to, but Hearth Troop, as in the troop of soldiers that fight around the hearth, as in where the fire is, or sleep around the hearth of the Lord. Somebody kept pronouncing them the Hearth Troop, and I've never shouted so much at a podcast in my life. I was like, okay. What is a Hearth? This what's a Hearth? Yeah. But there we go.
Okay, so, these guys are the guys that have come at the end of the Tithe, set of sort of teasers, with the idea being, I think, that they take a tithe of bones, which is then used to create their own legions, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Because they're built, aren't they? They're not skeletons. They are war constructs made out of bone.
Yeah, and that's quite cool because it means that you can have four-legged, four-armed, and multiple appendage creatures that make a bit more sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Without people looking at them and going, "Oh, I wonder what beastie that's the skeleton for." Well,
yeah,
it's not. It's just built to do that.
So totally new range. Not a single miniature in the range from anything previous that I've seen, which has surprised me a bit because with them being so, well, harking back to perhaps a bit to the Tomb King stuff, kits like the Sphinx kit thing
would have done really well in this range, I thought.
But then maybe that's to do with again moving away from real world themes, Egyptian type themes. But I don't know. So I think my favourite model at the moment now is it this guy?
No one can see, Dan. It's a podcast.
No, I know, but I'm talking to myself. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Anytime, man.
I don't know. I don't think it says.
I like the Mortark. I think the Mortark is awesome. And I like the new meme going around where the dude's like, "Nagash, you can't solve all of your problems by hiring a new Mortark." The hell I can't!
Yeah, I love that. I love that. There's a floaty guy with a big scythe and stuff, but it doesn't say what. Well, I can't see it saying what he is, but I think he looks ace. Yeah, I love that as well. I think I still would like to see the four-armed guys in person. I did notice the other day, though, I didn't clock this the first time, that they have four heads, like on one head. So they got four faces, one on each side of the head.
Ah.
And I love the idea of them spinning around either as they're destroyed or as they want to fight in a different style. So you imagine, because it says that they've got four souls within them. So you can imagine them fighting in sort of a samurai-esque style and then switching heads and it being more of a Western style. So I quite like that. Yeah. And I wonder if their rules will reflect that, to be honest. When they come out. Yeah, it must do, because it says here, Necropolis Stalkers, for instance, are infused with the souls of four legendary warriors apiece, giving them the ability to shift personalities mid-battle in order to change their fighting style. So, I would imagine the rules will show that. And then, they've got war machines in the form of a weird flipping catapult thing with legs, which just freaks me out. Or it would have freaked me out if I hadn't been watching so much of Dark Crystal. Because to be honest, if you can watch Dark Crystal, then no creature will ever again freak you out.
Have they had the four-legged strider things in that yet? The big long-legged strider things.
The big long-legged, seen them. Nothing compares, I'm going to go completely off topic now, nothing compares to a Fizzgig though. Have you noticed how similar you look to a Fizzgig actually? Just your face, just your head. Yeah, but I love them, dude, so it's fine. It was when I read about them and it said, like, most of their body is just a mouth. I was like, so it's a furry squig.
Yeah,
or a squig is a bold Fizzgig. Flipping love them, mate. I want a Fizzgig so much. I let Joshua... I showed...
Eat your house.
I know, but I showed Joshua... It's like, a Fizzgig is like a Warhammer take on a Tribble from Star Trek, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really? I showed Joshua a video on YouTube of some Fizzgigs, and he was like, "No, Daddy, turn it off, they're scary." I'm sorry, dude. So now, like, when he wakes up at the night because he thinks his teddy bear's gonna come alive and eat him, I'd be like, "Harriet, what have you shown him?"
Oh, man.
So anyway, how did we get on to Fizzgig? Oh, because of the creature, the walkie-talkie thing. And then so the Mortark. I actually think my favourite model of the Mortark is the samurai-looking bodyguard off to the left in the black. I really like that.
I think the amusing thing is that the samurai-looking bodyguard feels that the massive dude that's 4 times the size of anything else, with a shield the size of a small planet, needs a bodyguard. I think it's quite amusing in its own right.
It's a great... it is such a good model.
It's like a little diorama, isn't it?
It is, yeah, which is interesting. I can't think when last I've seen... Don't see
something
that
like
so
that.
often now, no.
The Sister of Battle, Hospitaller that we just talked about,
that's
is
true, yeah.
quite diorama-esque. I like it. I do. I like it. I've got to say, and this is an aesthetic thing, I won't be picking them up. They're not for me. I really like a lot of the models in it, but they don't float my boat in the same way as the Nighthorn, and I'm very keen on sort of keeping my Death Army to 1 Mortarch. And
that is for the best, though, because you can't just do everything. I'm in the same boat, so I don't. Although I keep flashing ideas for colour schemes through my head, I don't intend to pick them up either. But I do appreciate the models, and there's a lot of models that haven't been shown yet as well.
Oh yeah, there will be. Yeah. I mean, that's not to say that in the future I won't get excited to pick up the Mortarch to paint.
Oh yeah,
because I do really like that model. But it's interesting that I thought they were going to expand on Death Rattle.
Yeah.
I did. But that's cool. Death needed a bit of fleshing out. I can't see there being another Death faction anytime soon, though. I think that's probably
that's quite a lot now. Factions. I mean, it's incredible, really, when you think. Well, hang on, actually, how different it is. So, you had Tomb Kings and Vampire Counts, didn't you?
Yeah.
I suppose within Vampire Counts you did have 5 different types of vampire, which made the armies slightly different, but they were still building off the same core range of models.
Yeah.
So now you've got
Death
Flesh Eater Courts, which is really, and then you've got Legions of Nagash, which is kind of a coming together of many things, isn't it? Yep. And then you've got Night Haunt, and you've got these guys. So that's at least
5.
4, isn't it? 5, 4.
Death Rattle.
And you've got the different Mortarchs because you've got Lady Yolanda. Is she the Mortarch for the
Nighthaunt? Yeah.
Nighthaunt, yeah.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's good. It's good. It's definitely doing what the all round set out to do, which is expanding stuff and doing different aesthetics and things, isn't it?
He's a bit of a greedy bugger, isn't Nagash, isn't he?
Yeah. Yes, but then he's got his own.
What makes him think he's got the right to all the souls? Git.
Yeah, well, these are like the Stormcast, his own Stormcast, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Which is pretty cool. So that's those guys. Be interesting to see a bit more about them once they get close to being released, sometime this year. So not long left, for them to come out. Especially when you consider, we know that you've got them. We know there's an ogre thing in the offing of some description because we've seen an ogre, and Cities of Sigmar.
Yep. And the orcs.
And the Auric book.
That's if they actually add anything to that. It could just be a book. I think those 2 are just going to be books, personally. But
I think it would be such a missed opportunity if they don't do endless spells for Aurics.
Oh, they'll do endless spells for Aurics, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to see,
You've got enough greenskins to paint anyway, dude. You don't need a whole another load of models coming out, do you?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, obviously not. So, we've also got, for Warcry, the first expansion, which at the moment looks to just be a case of adding... I don't think there's any new models. I know we were discussing the Chimera, but that was from Storm of Magic. So this just allows you to add monsters and mercenaries in. So again, it's more of that if you're just doing one game or maybe 2 games, just more content for you if you're really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's just, I'm astonished. It's 1 month later and you've got an expansion. It's just it's crazy. Because now if I wanted to get into Warcry, because I missed picking it up last month because I was picking up Alien vs Predator stuff.
Yes.
I don't... Now I've got an extra book to buy already. It's crazy. Crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, you are. The thing with Warcry, though, for me, is because the book, I don't think it's a hardback. Well, it won't be a hardback book because the core rulebook isn't a hardback book.
It'll be more along the lines of Kill Team.
Yeah, I'm less inclined, I suppose, to pick them up. What
I'm excited about is that there's been pictures of the two, the Dark Oath War Queen and Dark Oath Lord, whatever he's called. And I don't have an army of chaos. I have bits of chaos that I painted because they're in starters kits, etc. But I do utterly adore both of those models, and it gives me a good excuse to paint up, the War Chief or whatever he's called, forget,
yeah,
and a good excuse to buy the War Queen.
Actually, that's a great point because I've got the War Queen and the War Chief, and neither of them are painted. So, yeah, I hadn't considered that. Excellent point. Well made. Be doing
I think
them.
So.
Yeah, that is a good point. Excellent. I was hoping, perhaps a bit greedy really, that the Nova Open reveal would be the 2 unreleased warbands that are in the book. Just the pictures of them in the book. Especially there's one which has got a real fire feel to it. I can't remember what it's called, but they look just the silhouette. It looks really, really cool. So I was hoping to see those.
What in the hell is going on? There's 4 wolf spiders on the wall of my shed. They're coming through the door like a flipping wave. I'm under assault.
I've just heard a scream in the distance, and I think it's Dan Wosley. Just knowing that is the case.
Door. Do you reckon they're nesting under the shed? Now that they've noticed that I've noticed them, they're both stopped and looking at me, and the other two have ran out the door.
Okay, well that's because we're talking about monsters and mercenaries.
Yeah, but I don't like the idea of them crawling over my feet when I'm painting. Ugh, flipping.
You normally paint indoors, though, don't you? So it's okay. Well, I know you are technically indoors. You're in the shed, but not just recording outside. Now, are you okay? Are you okay there to continue?
Oh yeah, I'm not spider-phobic. I just don't like...
Spider-phobic?
Well, arachnophobic.
What is that?
Oh, one of them's off. He's gone. I looked away and he's run away.
Okay.
No, he's going up the wall. He's assaulting my paint rack. God, that's so big you could mount it and ride it into battle. Ugh.
That's
right.
That could be part of the new Spider-Fan grot range. Come through your door. Right, now that we've moved... are we okay to move on from the stage-by-stage sort of description of the assault of your shed by the Spider Legions?
Ah, there's another one coming in! What?
It's ridiculous.
Right, let's move on. What's next? Oh, I would like to talk about the new part work by Hatchet, what's it?
Yeah, okay.
Hatchet Job. So, Conquest, was it Conquest? For 40k? Conquest for 40k. It now has a Mortal Realms version. So if people are interested in slow growing a Stormcast or a Nighthaunt army, that might well be up your street.
Absolutely. I think... I don't know why. I just suddenly looked at it and thought, oh, I would like to split that with somebody. And I was like, no, we don't need to do that. But yeah, and I feel sorry for you. You're going to have to get it, aren't you?
Well, both of those armies are armies that I've developed a really a fast painting scheme that I'm reasonably happy with. Particularly the Nighthaunt. So, and I really wanted to have a lot of Nighthaunt. And just from the starting issue, it's £2.99, and in it is 10 chain rasp board. So, with the ones from the 2 starters kits, because I bought yours off of, I'll have a proper little horde of.
You'll have loads of those.
Yeah. So I'm well excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah. What I subscribed to it already, because what I suspect will happen, it will be a bit like Conquest, and there'll be like they did that 4-week kind of tester release, didn't they? And then went on to do a full release. Do you remember there was like a gap of a month or so where it sort of disappeared and then came back again? Because at the moment, it doesn't seem to be much information about it. It seems to be quite low key. I'd have thought Games Workshop would have announced it, but they haven't. And when they do, I'd quite like to see what the whole, that whole range is. The big kind of, this is what you're going to get. Yeah. Because I'm hoping you'll get things like the character models for both sets, because you get like the single unipart, quick build characters. I haven't got any of those.
That would be good then. I expect you will.
Yeah, and I'm quite excited about that. Really, the prospect of that. So, if it sort of looks like it'll make a really good army, then I'll go for it. But otherwise, the first 4 issues are great value anyway. Oh.
Yeah, they certainly are. I really want the beaker, the mug, the tankard thing.
Yeah.
But I can't subscribe just on the basis of getting that.
No? Why not? Seems reasonable to me.
Well, it's £38 a month.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it?
Is quite a lot.
30,
like it's
7, 16, 32.
£32 a month.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but isn't there? There's probably going to be one of the upgradey things like they did for 40k in there.
Yeah, but to be honest, that ended up just being a couple of bits of cardboard and a few extra boxes.
Okay, but
it wasn't.
Yeah, it's not. I've got enough going on hobby-wise. I don't need more. You're still looking at them spiders, aren't you? Any more arrived?
The other one kind of gone back out the door. That one's gone up behind the bookcase. It's not going to have much luck in there, to be honest.
Those are just the foot troops. Wait till they come in for flinging with web flingers. Start bombarding you.
It's that time of year, isn't it, where they all come in the house to look for somewhere to sleep or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I went to a National Trust property today, and they had stuff about autumn walks, and I was like, oh, blimmin' heck. Like, time is powering on, isn't it? Again.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But there we are. Not to worry. Yeah, so that's good. And then there was some stuff about Underworlds, but it wasn't any more miniatures shown from Beastgrave. It was to do with Grandmasters. They're going to do Global Championship finals.
Yeah.
So that's more info on that next month. Good listening to... Flipping heck. I'm terrible. I'm really sorry, guys, because preparation this time has been a bit shocking from my part, especially because I'm just bumbling through. But I was listening to the Stormcast, the latest Stormcast.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just literally what I'm doing is trying to talk long enough to look up, because I've completely forgotten. We watch too much, don't we? Here we go. Dave Sanders. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Really interesting to listen to that, because he was key. He was behind Underworlds, the first iteration of Underworlds, and it was really interesting listening to him talking about the development process that they went through and how, like, they tried really hard to make a watertight competitive system, and then within moments of it coming out, realised that he hadn't made a watertight competitive system, and then like revisited it. Really humble guy, and listening to his thought process and stuff like so that you just don't think about. So the activations, the tokens, the effects that happen on your warriors. So originally, those were just tokens, just a way of representing things. Whereas now, they can be put on people. So, like, you have warbands that will exhaust your fighters or what have you, as an offensive ability. And he talks a bit about that and the evolution of that. So, I found it really interesting. So, if you want to listen to something a little bit more professional, you can certainly head over and listen to Stormcast episode 19, because it's really good. I mean, I do enjoy them. It's a mark of how much awesome is out there now that I am really struggling to decide what to listen to. I've been listening to the Scouring of the Shire again because of my excitement around Mortal Realms, trying to get through the Soul Wars book. I'm partway through Prospero Burns, and I've just downloaded Double Eagle and Iron Snakes. Brothers of Snake for 40k, and now I'm talking about, I'm keeping up to date with all the Stormcast, watching Dark Crystal. So there's plenty to have on in the background when you're hobbying.
Double Eagle is so good.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah, I know. Got to listen to that. So yeah, if you listen to the whole podcast, you know there's clearly a disparity between how the amount of excitement and length of the 40k section this time, but I think there was a bit more detail. Obviously, there was one big release for the Mortal Realms, and that was great to see the models. We don't have a lot of detail on what that army is going to do, how it's going to operate, how it's going to fight. And again, whilst Ben and I both appreciated the models, not something that we're likely to collect at this point. Whereas for 40k, that was slightly different this month. So, but I'm sure that dynamic will shift at some point. Certainly once I get all my chaos painted, I'm going to do something different. Because it's just mad. Just constant cornate madness. I am painting up my war shrine at the moment, though. So that's...
No one believes you.
No.
How many times have you said that on this podcast? Oh, yeah, I've finished with corn. It's all. I'm going to do something different, and I'm going to no. If you do something different, it will be another Chaos Army.
Well, yeah. There's no point doing anything rubbish, is there? Anyway, I think, unless you have anything further to add,
no, I don't. I mean, the funny thing is, I'm doing more Age of Sigmar than anything else. I'm just constantly painting orcs at the moment. My hobby is mostly Age of Sigmar, but I don't really have much more to say on that here that I haven't already said in the hobby desk, really.
No. Okie dokie. Well, in that case then, thank you all for listening to our somewhat brief foray through the Mortal Realms, although we've still managed to...
Gotrek's out next week.
You've just spoiled my ending.
But it's worth spoiling your ending with Gotrek's coming out next week.
Okay, I will let you know what. Yeah, it'll become apparent what I mean in a minute. So Gotrek is coming out next week from Black Library. What a miniature!
Love him. Love everything about him.
I really want to pick him up. He is absolutely fantastic. I love Realm Slayer. I really loved it. I remember the first time, because I picked it up because I was so happy that Brian Blessed was in it. And I thought, well, it's no good harping on about being happy Brian's in it and then not buying it, because then I've just done nothing to kind of suggest that I'd like to see more. So I bought it and we put the first CD on, and within 10 minutes I went to sleep. And that's not because of the quality of the audio. It's because I had become very unwell in Warhammer World. Some kind of sickness blight that I seem to have caught, the last couple of times I've been up there. I often found at the bottom of a pint glass as well, strangely. A very strange sickness, that. But I have since gone back and listened to it properly, and it's fantastic, and I really can't wait for the next one, if I'm honest. So, yeah. Done?
I'm done, yeah.
So, thank you for joining us on our brief sojourn, or whatever, however the pronunciation for that is, through the mortal realms. And I had but one thing left to leave us with, and that is...
Gotrek's alive! Yeah, okay, I ruined it.
I really hope that's not just woken Joshua up. Catch you in the community, guys. Hail, glorious community. Guys, thank you for listening thus far, if you've got all the way to here. And if you've just pinged in at this point, probably very wise.
Because it's our favourite section.
This is our favourite section. It always is our favourite section. So, plenty to talk about in the community today. But we want to start out with a little bit of an update around us, really, and what we're doing as the 2P's moving forward. So, some exciting news, really. We have, over the last couple of weeks, welcomed 4 guys onto the team, I suppose, if you will, for various reasons, but mostly focused around the Facebook page. Okay, so I know you guys are great for interacting with us, and we really like that, and we really appreciate that you want to do so. So if it's directly with the P's, the hobby group, and Twitter and Instagram, it's just me and Ben at the moment. But with the page, we wanted really to get more stuff out there. More of the news that comes out, more cool stuff that we see, share more of your events, get a bit more interaction, and then hopefully drive more people to listen to the podcast, or become more involved in the hobby group. So to do that, we have welcomed Ben the Bass, who we talk about all the time. And Ben is focusing on sharing cool 40k stuff. We've welcomed Chris. What do I call Chris, dude? I think Chris the background legend. I'll call him that.
It's a bit long-winded.
It
bit
is.
Of a mouthful.
Or no, Chris the narrative legend, I think, would do.
Why don't you just call him Narrative Chris?
Narrative Chris, yeah, okay. Well, that's why you're the names guy, isn't it? Let's be honest. You came up with 2P's podcast. So Narrative Chris has joined us. So he's going to be focusing around Necromunda. Because he just loves it. And he's also doing a blog, but he's going to talk a bit more about that when he comes onto the podcast. We've got, what on earth do we call Dan?
Wood Elf. Wandering Dan.
Yeah, Wandering Dan. I'm sure we've got a name for him.
Scared to death of spiders Dan.
Yeah, oh my goodness, yeah.
Dan, who levitated across his room in his underpants to avoid touching
Dan
a spider.
the arachnophobe. That's what we'll call him. That was incredible. I wish we'd recorded that for YouTube. So Dan loves his Age of Sigmar, and is going to be trying to keep some regular Age of Sigmar content up. And then
he's 9-inch charge, isn't he?
9-inch charge. 9-inch Dan. Let's not call him that. We don't want to outright lie on our podcast, so we're not going to call him that. Oh dear. Right. So 9-inch Dan is going to be keeping up Age of Sigmar. And last but by no means least, Tom the Tank, he's going to be getting involved. Are you all right there? Okay. Yeah.
Ben the Bass, Narrative Chris, 9-inch Dan, and Tom the Tank.
We've been recruiting some top quality individuals, mate.
Oh my days.
So, so Tom the Tank gonna be probably hopping on a bit of 40k because he loves it, and we want the guys to do stuff they're inspired by. But also Lord of the Rings, but we'll talk a bit about his involvement with that when we get into the Journey to Middle Earth section. And really, with Ben, Ben is just like collapsed.
I'm good. You carry on.
I'll just keep talking.
That's totally tickled me. I'm sorry.
So as you guys know, Ben and I both have young families, and some of those guys as well that we just mentioned to you as well. And we kind of think that if we share it out a little bit, we can get a bit more out there. But what we will be doing, if anywhere other than the page where it's those guys, we'll be really clear because we want to celebrate their hobby and what they do. And the last thing we want to do is put everything up as the 2P's and essentially not give them credit for the cool stuff that they do in the hobby. So Chris is doing a blog, and that's going to be, that's very much his thing, and it's really clear. And then over time, our hope is that we can grow the guys that work with us doing that stuff and sharing cool things, and our Patreons as well, and people that are friends of the show. Well, anyone really that wants to get involved and gather, I suppose. So, the dream is to invade Warhammer World, dressed up in giant pea suits. So it just looks mental. On space hoppers, I think. That would be brilliant. Green space hoppers.
Invading Warhammer World on green space hoppers.
Yeah. That would be brilliant, wouldn't it? It'd be hell of a space hopper for me and you, mine, wouldn't it? We could chain ours together and then be like a squig, one of them mangler squigs.
The
and we could just go straight in and attack the Bakewell tarts. That's where I'd be going. It's a mangler squig madness. So that's some exciting news from that point of view. So welcome to those guys, and thank you very much. Known those guys for a long time, and
just to completely clarify, when there's a post that comes up on the Facebook page, it will say from the 2P's, but we're going to put people's names at the bottom of it, and if we respond to that post, either Dan or I or one of the guys will bracket and put our name, who's talking at the end, so that people know who they're interacting with.
If it's a really good interaction, I will go in and edit it to just be my name.
Right. Okay. Because what we want the page to do is share our content, the stuff that we're doing, our hobby desk and all of that, but also be a decent source of news and finding things for you guys, because we do work really closely with them. They're our little hobby circle. They're who we get ideas from, and who hopefully get ideas from us, and who we seek out when we're asking for criticism and feedback. So they are as much a part of the podcast in a way, and have been for 47 episodes as then as they are now. It's just that they're going to be helping us to put
more
that content
importantly,
out.
they bring snacks.
Yeah.
So anyway, covered off that important factor.
That's a tumbleweed finish there. Good.
It's all right. We've got to bring it back down after your outburst.
Well, yeah.
So he's off
My
again.
outburst. I'm sorry for embarrassing us.
So, moving on. Ben, you need to do your shout-outs now that we've covered the exciting new expansion plans.
Yeah, I do need to do our shout-out. So I've got 3 from Instagram today, who I'm really excited to share. The first one is a chap called Christian Clausen, who has essentially caught my eye at the moment because of his goblins, which is not surprising. I have all of the hashtag goblin, hashtag gloomspike gits, all linked into my Instagram, so they come up, and his goblins came up, and I really love the style of them. But on looking through his incredible Instagram page, there's some other really exciting things in there. At the moment, really cool sort of tie-in to a lot of the things that we're thinking about. His Lord of the Rings collection of painted miniatures is just stunning. So Christian Clausen, and he is on there as Christian Paints Minis. And I would really strongly recommend anyone who just likes miniature painting to give him a follow, because he's got some really cracking stuff on there. And it's very much in the style that I like as well, which is useful. Very realistic. And I'm rather jealous, actually, of his goblin bases, but, we won't go there. What I particularly like, that stands out by country mile for me, is his Theoden, where he's done it in non-metal metallics, and he's done each individual scale, and mate, it's good. Very, very good. So that's Christian. The next one on the list is a chap called Requiem 82. I'm sorry, I don't know what your actual name is. I'd like to pop him on the list because of his conversion of a Ogrin carrying a commissar who's been injured. I think it's absolutely wonderful. There's so much character involved. And when you actually look at the green stuff work he's done on it, it's insane. And going through his page the other day, having sort of, it caught my eye again because he converted it a while ago and he's been painting it recently. His green stuff work is really superb. And there's a character a little way back that is when I started following him. It's a dude in a t-shirt with a sort of smiley face on, with a pet dog and a long trench coat that reminds me of the Punisher, but with a white t-shirt, which is
I've seen.
Yeah, it's what caught me up my eye originally. But some fantastic green stuff work. So, if you're interested in sort of converting and green stuffing, it's some really cool stuff on there. But if nothing else, just an awesome guy to be following on Instagram, because his painting style is amazing, and the models he's coming out with is just absolute class. Standout for me has to be, green stuff wise, a Sister of Battle that you did a while ago, which is basically the entire thing is green stuff, and it's just awesome, absolutely awesome. I would very, very much like to be able to green stuff like that, dude.
I know.
But
I know.
you could just sculpt what you wanted. But there we go. That's that one. That's Requiem 82, Requiem _82 on Instagram. Love and grimdark, that lovely grimdark kind of style of painting as well, which is really cool.
Yeah, I like that.
And the last one, in tying into our competition, which we'll segue onto in a minute, is a chap called Solvince, which I can't remember whether we've called him out before, quite possibly, but actually I don't care if we have, because the guy needs shouting out regularly and often when it comes to scenery, because his scenery for Lord of the Rings, for Necromunda, is the bomb. It's absolutely insane. To the point where, if you're scrolling through his feed and it's been painted, every now and again he has pictures of source material, of reference material, things that have inspired him. And you could scroll past that and assume that he's made it because everything else looks so flipping good. It's just absolutely wicked. And I mean, what have I just gone past there that I've made? There's a Portaloo with it. It's just insane. Absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, he is Soul_Vince. He describes himself as a Blanchitsu conversionist and a terrain addict, which I think is pretty accurate. So, yeah. There you go. That's my three. Three absolutely outstanding hobbyists who deserve our love and support.
Yep, absolutely. And, I had to flick through those before you shouted them out. Really stunning. Really good. So, as normal, it falls to me to have the glory of looking through the 2P's hobby forum, and looking at what I think is cool and shouting it out, and trying not to be totally biased and just shout out chaos things. Apparently there are other races. I don't know what's going on there. But as ever, some really good stuff, really active. So thank you for that. So the first thing I want to start out with, Ben, is, Ian Minto. So
Yep.
he has, not put up a picture of himself, but a Legio Mortis Warlord Titan he's working on. And I really, really like it. He's used the what looks to be the crackle paint on the armor plates to start getting some of the that kind of what's it called? Metal falling apart. That's very detailed.
Rust?
No, corrosion. I think I'm
corrosion. Okay.
On there, which I think looks really good. So, great job and a massive project. So I'm looking forward to seeing that coming together.
It is really quite exceptional, isn't it?
It is good, isn't it? And it's big.
It must take some real hobby kahunas to corrode and rust a Warlord Titan.
Yeah, absolutely. So, can't carry on really without shouting out Geraint's Saint Celestine. So Geraint does some stunning individual models. And it's always cool to see them coming together up in Warhammer Cribs, because Geraint's the manager up there. And obviously Celestine at the moment is particularly poignant because the Sisters of Battle are on the way. So that's ace. He's actually painting that as a
prize, isn't it?
A prize for a customer. So from one of their auction type events that they do. So that looks ace. Really like that. And then lastly,
can I just intersect with that one? Because I really like the non-metal metallic on that. When I first saw it, I thought it was Retributor armor.
Yeah.
It looks that good. And over the 2.5 years we've been doing this podcast, his non-metal metallics have come on massively. Absolutely amazing progress. So just goes to show if that's what your bag is and you keep working at it.
Yeah.
Be up there with the rest of them.
Yeah. So lastly, Tim Barkley and his Ale Guzzler Gargant, which is actually guzzling ale.
It's stupendous.
It's amazing, and
it's like the Brian Blessed of Gargants.
Yes, it is. The Brian Blessed of Gargants. Yes, you can imagine it shouting Gargants alive, can't you? Waving that crow's nest around. So I think that's superb. So yeah, really good. So 3 great examples of the hobby group, I feel.
Yeah, I think they're all fantastic, and that Ale Guzzler Gargant, it fits in. He's got a lovely little army coming together of just mental pirate destruction, which is excellent.
That sounds like the headline for some kind of metal band, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Mental pirate destruction. So
Ailstorm's latest album.
Yeah, absolutely. So, moving on again to competition. So in the hobby group, which we'll put a link to in the show notes, we have a monthly themed competition. And then every quarter we post up the 3 winners from the competition, and we give away a little prize via Curtain Games, which is some friends of the show, friends of ours that we've been to see, and they very kindly
offered to support the prizes.
Offered to support the prizes. And the great thing with Curtain is they just do so many cool events, don't they, for the hobby. And in a part of the world where you'd be like, oh, I won't find a hobby shop here, like with a few paints and a brush, let alone a proper hobby goings on place. So thank you very much to those guys. But on to the winner. So the winner from the last 3 months is Rob Davis with his absolutely fantastic Oberon the Bold, I think his name is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is the Stormcast with the double-handed hammer from the Shadespire starter set. And they're also in their own little bundle now. Steel Hearts Champions, I think they're called. Really,
that's right. Yeah.
Really nice. Watched it develop as he painted it up, didn't we? And it just looks great. And all 3 entries were excellent, but this one did stand out. And so big congratulations to him. What we'll do is we will direct message you and get you in contact with Curtain to sort you out with some cool goodies, which then you do need to paint up and post in the hobby forum, because nothing for free, dude. Nothing for free. And then moving into September. So August was Fields of War, I think I called it. I do forget, but I found a cool picture. But it was
and that would have closed the day we were recording this. So
Yeah, so...
Or the day after we're recording this.
Unsurprisingly, not as many... I didn't see as many entries for that one, but that's fair enough.
Tough category, isn't it?
Tough
really?
category. You can't do everything. So, that's cool. So, if you do want to enter that, it'll be too late by the time you're listening. So, sorry, wait till next time. And, but September, perhaps somewhat unsurprisingly, I have decided to call Aces High, in homage to Iron Maiden's song, because I love it. And also aircraft zoomy things. So with Aeronautica Imperialis on the horizon, I felt it was appropriate. But it's not just limited to that. There's innumerable model aircraft out there of all shapes and sizes for all different game systems, and it would be really good to see a range of different things. So, if you feel that a Stormbird from Forge World is appropriate, please do. Or if you think a Lancaster bomber, go for that. Or both, even, So
it can also be... Well, it's anything that's flying, really, would accept.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jet bikes, land speeders from Legion, Star Wars Legion.
Dragons.
Dragons, really, probably except dragons. Eagles. Anything on wings. Or, I think, would we accept jump packs and that kind of stuff? No, I think it would probably be better. Land speeders, we would.
We'll do another category for that. Unless it's remote controlled. If it was a remote controlled jump pack marine, I'd have to.
That has to happen now.
Comedy value. Just get some of those rocket motors from like model rockets and attach to it. That'd be quite orky, actually, wouldn't it?
God. Oh.
So Aces High for September. So I think that brings us hurtling on towards
events.
So
I'll lead us out with this one.
You are going to go forth.
So, like we've just mentioned, probably one of the most prolific hosts of events in our area is Curtain Games, and they're based in Crediton. And like Dan said, Crediton is relatively remote. It's not like that central at all. Down some back roads out the back of Exeter, and you'll find in Crediton, really, you would only expect to find a little shop with maybe a couple of paints, etc., etc. But what they have set up there and continue to drive forward with some significant passion and energy, considering that they're all busy people, is quite astonishing. And a homage to it really is to go on their events page on Facebook and just marvel at the amount of events that they're putting on, Dan. It is insane. And not only is it events for stuff that's already going, but new events for new games as well. So, for example, there's a Warcry tournament coming up, which we'll cover in a second. So absolutely driving forward the events in our area, really. So excellent to have them around. So let's go through what they've got going on. It's August the 30th where we're recording this, and it will be released on Wednesday the 4th. So we'll do the events from there on out. So this weekend, Age of Sigmar, Blood, Death and Vengeance, which is a tournament up at Curtain Games. That is Age of Sigmar, and it's pretty standard setup for tournaments. 2,000 point army pitch battle profile from the battle tomes. Their Age of Sigmar events are ace. They drag in people from all over the south of England for that, so people are travelling to that. So you might find some famous peoples there, like Pro Painted and stuff like that. Crocodile Tears, which is quite a cool name for a Warcry tournament, is on the 8th of September, which is the Sunday. Why would it be called Crocodile Tears with a K, or am I completely missing a bit of background there, Dan?
No idea. Unless Sump Croc is going to turn up. Although that's spelt with a C, so maybe not. because that's why.
What is cool is that there are event organised goodies for this, so medals and all sorts of stuff, which is nice to see Games Workshop supporting that, and giving people like prizes to hand out. September the 14th, really chuffed to see that these are happening with some regularity. Battlefields of Middle-earth, we're on number 6 for this one. So that's Lord of the Rings game, and that's 750 points and must follow the Alliance Matrix for that. So if you're interested in playing Lord of the Rings in a tournament, then that's probably be a good one. I really like competitive Lord of the Rings, actually, Dan. It's always quite fun, I find. Yeah, I do, yeah. You can get really quite fiddly into it. Yeah, I quite like it. Keyforge Sealed Deck Tournament on September the 14th. That's a card game if you're interested in Keyforge. Or because it's a sealed deck tournament, if you know the rules basically, you don't need anything else. Just turn up, buy a deck, get on with it. I've heard quite good things about Keyforge from that respect, actually, Dan. And then September the 27th and September the 28th are Saturday and Friday pre-release events for the Throne of Eldraine, which is something that I've not heard of.
Magic the Gathering.
Magic the Gathering. Is that the next iteration, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So if you're into Magic the Gathering, that's going on there. And then finally, something that they've got a bit of a reputation for, X-Wing event. The Road to the Worlds Extended is on Saturday the 28th. Oh, I'm sorry, I've missed that. The day on the same day as well. On Saturday the 28th is Star Wars Legion Ground Assault Tournament. So loads going on there. And just to look a little bit forward, Curtail Carnage, which is their 40k series, and that is on October the 5th on the Saturday. So tons of events. That's just September, October. They've got, well, start of October, they've got stuff pegged right up until the start of December. So do have a look. Do go on there and explore what's going on in your area.
Absolutely. So I'm going to pick up the Terra games. So Terra have got a couple of things running at the moment, regular things. So every Sunday, they've got the Terra Realms ladder campaign for Age of Sigmar. And they've also got the Terranian ladder campaign for 40k. They also do a regular painting competition. So there's only a few days left for this competition, but that's worth looking into as well. And there's a 40k doubles campaign that runs every Saturday. With regards to one-off events, so Terranian Kill Team is running on the 8th of September. There's 15 people down to go to that so far, so that's definitely worth looking out at, and that's a 10 o'clock start on the Sunday. And then they too have the Throne of Eldraine pre-release events on the 27th and 28th of September. Oh, and the 29th of September even, for Magic the Gathering. So, yeah, some good stuff coming along from those guys. And then moving up closer to myself, which is Bristol Independent Gaming. So those guys have Kill Team Friday going on every Friday. So that's like a regular thing. And I've already spoken about the every other Thursday Vanguard Gaming Nights. Unfortunately, I couldn't make the most recent one because I wasn't very well. There's the Guardians Call to Moria. So that's September the 7th, Lord of the Rings event at Bristol Independent. And then the same day, there's a Kings of War tournament as well down there. So if that's your thing, you can head along to that. There's a Night Vault tournament on the 15th of September. Autumn Tides 40k tournament on the 22nd of September. There's a Saga tournament for the Age of Magic. Now, that's looking a little bit further ahead on the 20th of October, but I just thought it was interesting to mention because I've heard some good things about that game. And how it works. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff coming from Jim down at Big. Definitely worth checking out.
Cool.
I think there was one more which was not related to either of those two guys, and that was from the hobby group pages. Simon James Lee has posted up Scouting for Shade Glass. So that's Saturday the 14th of September, 10 till 6, in Bodmin at the Scout meeting place. It's £12.50 entry.
Which Scout meeting place does it say, dude? Because there is, in fact, two in Bodmin, very bizarrely.
3rd Bodmin Scouts.
I think that's the one up by the Beacon. Yeah, up on the Beacon.
Road,
so don't mix that up with the one near the industrial estate. It's quite easy to do that. One last shout out is not to do events because they haven't got any pegged up apart from the pre-release for the Throne of Eldraine. It's Imperial Games in Exeter because we haven't mentioned them before. And if anyone knows Exeter, it's near the bus station in the centre, in a little shop in there. It's a nice big floor plan, plenty of tables, really nice guys running it, and really keen to sort of support the community around them. And if you're in and around Exeter and you haven't heard of them or haven't checked them out, then well worth going down and having a look.
Absolutely. So, one last thing to shout out from a community perspective, and it's something that is quite close to my heart, and I know you, Ben, as well, is something that you feel quite strongly about, and that is a charity raffle which is going on, or bids, isn't it, mate? I think.
Yep. Blind bids.
Yeah, blind bids, all in the aid of the Calm charity, which is working to increase awareness and provide for someone for men to talk to, due to the fact that suicide is the biggest killer of men under 45 in the UK. So quite a serious moment on what is normally a jovial podcast. It is a beautiful army, but also a really important thing and subject. And we are really lucky. We have listeners for male and female listeners. So it's not to take away from the ladies that are listening, but this one's very focused on men because of that statistic, and it's a really scary statistic, to be honest, and it can be tough to reach out and talk. And I think this is an absolutely fantastic piece of work that's being done. So that is, we have posted up all the details, but importantly, if you want to bid on that, in fact, I might pin that to the top of the page, Ben. Just up. And
I think that's a good idea.
That's what I'll do. So I'll pin that to the top of the page so it's easy to find. But you can email 40 hours of 40k at gmail.com with your bid by 6 o'clock on Sunday the 8th of September. Or you can visit Imps Gaming, which is an event venue in Lincoln, on the 8th of September. But a stunning army, a really fantastic cause. So do check that out. And if you can, if it's your thing, offer it your support.
Yeah, it's a tough topic, and it is one that is close to my heart. I've worked in psychiatry before, and as a male GP, I quite often see people struggling with this, and both, I'm sure Dan won't mind me saying, but both Dan and I have struggled with the black dog in the past. And it's often talking to each other that's made us feel a lot better, dragged us through some difficult times. And if you are struggling and you're listening, there are people out there who care, and just seek them out and have a chat. And what the hope of this charity is to provide someone who is outside of the situation, who is impartial, is able to just talk. So I think it's a fantastic cause, and done in the right way, because I do pick up vibes from places across the internet that actually, a lot of hobbyists do struggle quite a lot with this. So I think it's a great way of reaching out to the community, and I think it's worth a shouting out who did it. Is it Red Dragon, Dan? Red?
Yeah, sorry, I did write it down. Where's my little book gone? I should have remembered that. It's Red Eagle Studio.
It's Red Eagle Studio. So massive kudos to you guys. There's a lot of effort being put into this. It's definitely not a speed painted army by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, hats tipped from the 2P's. I know that doesn't mean a massive amount, but what you've done is awesome.
Absolutely. So, on that note, thanks for listening through the community section. And what we will do now is head off to Middle Earth and have a jolly good wander around the Shire.
I had hoped to start this section with a wonderful rendition of Over the Misty Mountains, but I practiced it a few times before we came on, and I'm not going to subject anyone to that.
Well, I think more importantly, it would be so accurate that you would be in danger of copyright infringement.
Yeah, it's true. My kids were not impressed when I tried to sing it for them when I was reading them The Hobbit the other day, so... Which leads us straight in. So welcome to the Middle-earth section, which we call the Journey Through Middle-earth. It's our section that we do every other podcast. And it's because we don't have a massive amount of time to dedicate to Middle-earth strategy game, but we utterly adore it. It's been a big part of our hobby through all the years that we've done Games Workshop. And it's been a huge part of our sort of fandom, as it will. Lord of the Rings. Ace.
Yeah.
So, Dan has got loads to talk about with regards to the Hobbit in the Shire, which is the current sort of book that's out, and it's very, very good, and we're enjoying it quite a lot. My participation in this has been to start reading The Hobbit to my children, which has been a wonderful experience, Dan. Really quite cool. Especially watching Tristan really starting to get into it and asking questions. I think it might be a little bit above Eloin, really, at the moment. But, yeah.
I can't wait.
Really having fun with that.
I bought Joshua a collector's edition of The Hobbit when he was born. I can't wait. I cannot wait to read that to him. So, yeah, I'm very excited. So, that's good. So talking about Lord of the Rings there. So, I think it's fair to say, particularly because it's usually right at the end of when we record, that sometimes the Journey Through Middle-earth section has lacked the gusto of some of the other parts. So, massively overcoming that with a new way of splitting up the recording so that we've got the energy for it. So, really going to see a renewed focus on the Lord of the Rings section. So if that is your thing, if you're into Lord of the Rings, please tell people, because we intend to try and make this interesting if we can. And then give us feedback as well. We'd like to know what you'd like to see in this section. But for now, the plan is thus. So I've been having a look at the source books, Ben, and I think it would be cool every 4 months to focus on a different source book. Be really good for the podcast, I think, but also for personal hobby, because I think more than any other of the Games Workshop games, I feel like the Lord of the Rings encourages you to just collect everything and explore everything. Explore the story. So I've spoken to Tom, and he's up for joining me on that as well, which is good, because then I don't have to paint everything. And it would be great if you did the same. Try and get people involved in doing that.
I'm very excited about the next book, actually. So,
yeah,
I'm a monstrous fan of Rohan as an Anglo-Saxon reenactor. The imagery, and it just hit me straight away the moment I saw it. So, massive fan of Rohan, and I've got plenty of them to paint, and I'm really excited about the new book. But we'll talk a little bit about the new stuff later on, because we're going to focus on The Hobbit first.
Yeah, so the first book we're going to cover, first book that I'm excited to look at is The Scouring of the Shire. So going to break it up a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about the story, a little bit about when applicable the films, and then the models and the book. So this, for those, I'm sure most people have read The Lord of the Rings, but for those who've not read it for a long time or can't recall, The Scouring of the Shire covers the period of time when Frodo and Sam and Merry and Pippin return to the Shire to find that it is not as it was when they left. There are fires, there are gates, there are notices, and there are ruffians everywhere. And essentially they ride in and they're like, right, well, we're not having any of this. And they basically kick the ruffians into touch. Turns out that Saruman is behind it all. Really petty, spiteful way. And it brings to a close Saruman's story, and the story of Grima. And shows that actually, going off doing as they did, they, saved Middle Earth, but then when they return home, they find that in their absence, their home they've almost lost their home. It's really quite harrowing, and I think it, just to get a bit deeper, I think it reflects a bit some of Tolkien's experiences, because he obviously fought in the First World War, and would have been around when I know it was Victorian era that there was big industrialization, but industrialization and capitalism were really on the rise across England, and going off to war and then returning, and it really tough thing to come back from. So yeah, there's a lot there, I think,
because the country had changed a lot, really, hadn't it, over the 4 years? Yeah. The whole social makeup of the country, I think a lot of people came back and found that they didn't recognise the country that they'd come back to. Some things are positive, some things not positive, but I think when it comes to the Shire, I think you're absolutely right. I think it is really harrowing that what they go through to get the ring to Mordor. And if you stop and actually think about it and take it as more than just a film and try and put yourself in their shoes, it's a really quite an awful experience. That the sort of thing that you would not want to do twice or once, to be perfectly honest. So, I mean, particularly Frodo, is driven on by the thought of, and Sam is driven on by the thought of returning home to the Shire. That is their kind of light at the end of the tunnel. And there's a number of times in the film and the book where they talk about what they're going to do when they're going to get home. Sam's going to go after, the love of his life.
Rosie.
Frodo's going to settle down. Rosie, yeah. And then and Merry and Pippin often talk about how they're going to come home as heroes. And they come home and it's all gone to crap. So it really is. I think it's a bit of it's an unusual thing for a writer to do, to sort of end the story on such a sort of dark note. It's quite almost like the happy ending isn't always completely happy.
No.
Which is tough on the characters and tough on the readers in some way, because you want to put the book down and think that everything's been all right. Big part of the story that is often and shamefully missed from the film. I thought.
Yeah. So I was just going to kind of move on to saying about the film and the fact that, like you say, it doesn't appear at all, and
other than sort of
there are
vision
visions,
of the future.
Actually.
Yeah.
There are the visions, aren't there?
Yeah.
So they do pay homage to it a bit, but actually in the extended edition, Saruman dies in the Two Towers by falling off Orthanc. So. But quite different, really. Which is a shame. But then, I suppose, with the level of detail Tolkien put into everything, it would have been hard to cover the Scouring of the Shire without making another film, quite possibly,
or three.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So, not featured in the films, really. Although there is some great inspiration in the Hobbit holes. That you then need to go on and create. So from a from a gaming perspective, the book itself is really, really good, mate. It's got
it is amazing.
have you got it?
I have. I love it.
So it's brilliant. There's lots of scenarios, and what I really like is there's a linked campaign that gives you the impact of the good or the bad side winning. So that I think is really cool, and that's what I'm aiming in the next 4 months to try and play through. I did start adding up the number of models I need, and I was like, oh dear, because I thought it wouldn't be too bad. It's actually something I really like about the Lord of the Rings scenarios, is it gives you actual participants, which really appeals to the collector in me.
Gives me a small element of heart failure, actually.
Really?
Just reading those lists and thinking, oh my days.
So, brings me on to an interesting point about models. So, I need to get 24, I think is the maximum that are used at any one point, ruffians. It might even need to be 26 because of the makeup. But basically, need 8 with bow, 12 just standard, and then 4 with whips. And I think there might be a couple more with whips needed, actually. But I've looked at the models, and aside from the fact that they're quite repetitive in pose, you don't get a good mix of those different things, and they're £30 for 10 or 12. And actually, you would need 3 packs of them, £90 worth, to do all the ruffians. So I've been looking around. Because actually ruffians are sort of generic,
pretty ubiquitous
guys, aren't they? But I must say, and I know I'm spoiled a bit because I'm always buying stuff from Games Workshop. But some of these people, some of these sites, they need to sort out their advertisement and the way they display their products online. Because I've been trying to find models. The Frostgrave miniatures, for example. So I know that there's like militiamen for Frostgrave. If you go to a site, I've been to a couple of sites today to look at them, and all there is a picture of the box art. Not even the miniatures. You know? And I was on a website earlier, and I was looking at the Song of Ice and Fire stuff, because actually they've got
same problem.
They've got some really nice ones. Same problem. And worse than that, the description doesn't even tell you how many models are in the box. And, to be honest, they were out the door anyway, because they are in the same price bracket as Games Workshop. And that's just...
It's the label.
Yeah, which is fine, that's fair enough, whatever, but it's not what I'm looking for. So, there was some wonderful generic miniatures that you found on Kickstarter.
I was just literally trying to think of it, because they do the townspeople, don't they? And a couple of those could end up being
you need 8...
With some green stuff patches or something.
Well, you need 8 townspeople. For the first scenario is set in Bree. And of course, I've got the buildings, which I would use for that. A lot of the scenarios are on little tables as well, only 2 foot square. But you need 8 townsfolk for that. So, yeah.
I think it'd be worth us just pausing there and finding out what that company is.
Yeah, by all means, let's do that. So, we've just had a look, and it's Fireforge Games were making what we were talking about. But a lot of it doesn't seem to be available yet. And it was a Kickstarter, so they can be interesting. So, but anyway, the point still, we also got frustrated because they've got no pictures of models on their website, which is a bit silly. But the point being that I'm looking for an alternative because, to be frank, it's a lot of money to spend on some ruffians.
Yeah.
So, yeah, looking at that. And then the Hobbits, though. I love the Hobbit models, and I'll be definitely getting those. And Forge World have started bringing out the personalities of the Shire. So I definitely want to be picking up those guys. And I love the Hobbits on ponies. So yeah, lots to get through. Next month I am intending to build a Hobbit hole. using the upgrade kit from Forgewood, which I've got already, and it's turned up, and a load of foam, which I've also got, and I've tidied up my shed a bit in time to make it a complete mess by cutting foam all over the place. So yeah, and then what I'll do is I'll play through the scenarios, and then we can talk about how that went in future episodes. Is my plan, dude?
Which will be about once every month.
Yeah, once a month. So it'll be 4 sort of episodes about how we get on. So I'm going to have to crack on a little bit just to get the terrain ready.
How many Hobbit holes are you building?
I need 5. I need 5 altogether. I think the most used in one of the scenarios is 5. I can't remember which scenario that is. Yeah, most of them are 4 or less, but I'm sure I saw 1.
That's a lot of hobby for one little book.
It is a lot of Hobbit. Yeah, the Burning of Woody End has got 5 Hobbit holes in it to be burned. And lots of ruffians. I mean, they're not terrible models, the ruffians. They don't benefit from the fact that they're so similar.
Yeah, no, you're right. And 30 quid, well, 90 quid is a lot. Although you could console yourself in a sense that that you'll be able to use them for generic human baddies for role-playing forevermore.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
Have you tried something like Reaper Bones?
No, I haven't really. You know me, mate. I'm not very experienced at looking up anything outside of something with Citadel written on it.
Well, Reaper Bones might be a pretty good option, actually.
Yeah, so I'm going to have a browse and let people know how I got on.
Yeah. So should we talk about the releases that have been hinted at coming up?
Oh, yeah.
So the sort of final, I suppose, little part of Nova Open releases was the Rohan book, which I'm very excited about. But what I didn't expect, and I'm not sure why I didn't expect it, but took me completely by surprise, took lots of people completely by surprise, is an actual scenery kit for the Rohan scenery, which is absolutely fantastic, looks fantastic, really modular by their description. And if you look at the picture, there's a massive hall in the background that appears to be made by the same kit. So I'm hoping you'll be able to practically make Edoras, which would be absolutely awesome. I will try to do that if the kit allows you to do that. Because then you could do like Edoras out of the plastic kit, and then all the other little houses scratch build them using sort of, you know, the same techniques that we were using when they first came out, all those many moons ago. So that's a really exciting next step. They've already started to release or hint at some characters for that. They've been doing a pretty good job of releasing Rohirrim characters over the last 6 months anyway, really, because of the Gondor at war. So there's a number of characters already out and about, which is really cool, because I think it's an army of heroes, really, and having those sort of awesome horsemen stuck in the middle of the generic ones does look fantastic, and I think they make for an exciting, dynamic army, really. They look really, really cool. I'm going to
do the Isengard.
Are you? Yeah. Shall we try and try and make a pledge now? Because it'll probably be some time before we do this. But shall I work on a Rohirrim army with Ben, because he's doing Rohirrim too, and you work on an Isengard army, and we'll see if we can do the Helm's Deep scenario.
Yeah. I'm going to line all my models up in my garden, and I'm going to stand at the window of my hobby room and just survey them.
An army worthy of Mordor. Yeah, well, should we have a go at that?
Yeah, I'm going to go and buy some Uruk-hai.
That would be cool. Really, really cool. They're nice and easy to paint as well. You could you can do the wall in like a mid-silver and then just Black Templar a lot of them through the airbrush.
Oh yeah, they won't.
Wouldn't take very long at all.
It'll take longer to paint all the white hands on than it will to paint the models.
You could get a sponge, like cut a little kind of sponge out in the shape.
That's quite a good idea.
And just do it. You know,
it'd probably be slightly easier to make
a stencil,
a little stencil, and then sponge it through the stencil.
Yeah, because you wouldn't need. It wouldn't matter if it was a bit sloppy, really, would it? No, I think that'd be the way I'd do it. So you get the easy army to paint. And
yeah, but you just told me I've got to paint flipping hundreds of them.
You do. I expect at least 1,000 Uruk-hai.
But I don't own the deeping wall, so there's only one pair that have got to build the deeping wall. It's you, by the way.
I would enjoy doing that, actually. I think.
Oh, dude, could we make it out of, like you can buy those little brick kits that you can build houses from? Let's make it out of that and then blow it up.
No.
Oh, it would be so good. I'm going to come to your house in nothing but a loincloth with a fiery brand going, "Roar!" running down the road.
One of them crazies just been spawned.
Yeah.
The final thing I've got to talk about releases-wise is I have seen a sneak peek leaky photograph of a pack called the Ring Bearers.
Yes, then they're all invisible.
And they're all invisible, and it's anyone who has ever carried the ring. So, Isildur, Gollum. I think I saw Gollum in there, but certainly Sam, and certainly Frodo, and certainly Isildur. I can't think of anyone else, but there was quite a few in there. They looked like there was about 5.
Yeah.
Which would be quite cool.
That's like an event exclusive thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but the event, we go to Warhammer Fest every year, so we'll be able to pick it up there.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And also, in an interesting twist that I've just seen, Forge World have released this today, 3 models from Alternative Sculpts. One of Bard the Bowman, one of Tariel, and one of Legolas. And they're available for 1 week only to purchase on the store, and then they become event exclusive.
Yeah.
Which is different. So they're lovely models.
Are they? Because I literally could not give less of a crap about those 3 characters.
Well, that's fine if you wish to be.
You already got me an Ariel a long, long time ago that I really like the model of, but I'll just call her a generic random elf that shouldn't have a name and shouldn't be in the film. Okay,
well, thanks for your input.
Bitter Tolkienite! No, I do like the model. And Legolas looks the same age as he did from Lord of the Rings in the model, rather than 20 years older.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm terrible. I showed the kids the video of, because I couldn't see it, so I thought I'd get it out of, Over the Misty Mountains to give them an idea of what everyone looked like. And it started off and I was like, oh, this is so good. This is really, really good. And then it showed the beardless dwarf and I just like, oh, this is so bad. How did it get so bad? Awful. Absolutely awful.
Right,
Peter Jackson.
We're not finishing the podcast with you bemoaning
the Hobbit film and the hairless dwarves.
No. we're not finishing on that. We don't need any of this. Any minute now, we're going to be on Twitter typing ridiculously long posts, aren't we?
Oi!
It's true. So, I've just found something on Facebook called Arrows versus Armour. That looks like a fun video to watch. Anyway, yeah.
So it's all looking really exciting for Middle-earth. It really looks like Games Workshop is properly starting to gain some momentum in the support behind it, which is excellent. There's a steady stream of miniatures coming out, a steady stream of content. I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited about the future of it.
And I'm excited to actually do something with it.
Yeah. I mean, I've got, like, literally hundreds of Lord of the Rings models assembled after I went a bit mental last year. And none of them painted. So it might be time to...
Oh, yeah, you did. I'd forgotten that. You went mad.
Yep. But
oh, well.
We'll end up with a nice big Rohirrim army and a nice big Mordor Orc army. Right, I'm quite interested to see how contrast paints work on all Mordor Orcs. You could probably get away with a lot with them.
I think I've got a suspicion that contrast paints will be absolute godsend for Lord of the Rings. Well, I don't have a suspicion. They worked really well on Farmer Maggot. Like, I painted him stupidly quick. So, yeah.
Moria goblins.
Yeah. Oh my god.
3 colours. I'd spray them metal. Black Templar the lot. And then pick out their faces, use Plague Bearer and flesh tearers on the cloths, and that would be practically it, I think. Can't see any reason
Sounds
doing
good.
that.
So, I think that about brings us to a close. It leaves only to be said the absolutely vital thank yous. So thank you if you've listened all the way to this point. Give us a shout out, because I'm not actually convinced anyone gets this far, if I'd be honest, Ben. But, there we go.
Yeah. If you reach this point, give us a shout on Twitter or Facebook.
Say, yo, I listened all the way. What's the number for the best therapy in the area? That's what I would go for. So, thank you very much to everyone, really, that interacts with us across all the different social media. So we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we have a web page and YouTube at the 2P's podcast on those things, and it's 2psinapod.com for the website. As ever, we deliberately choose not to push Patreon, although we are looking at ways that we can say a big thank you, but those will not be putting content behind a paywall, because we don't go in for that at this stage, and this is something we do for fun. It's not something that we do to fund, to put food in our bellies, because to be frank, you don't get a belly like this by doing social media for wargaming. So that's why we don't do Patreon that way, but we do want to do some more stuff for you guys. We'll get there, but a massive thank you to the Patreons, because it's genuinely now, I think it was a couple of months ago, wasn't it, Ben? We had the bill come in for hosting the podcast on Podbean
and the website all at once,
and the website, and it caused a bit of a moment in the Hall household when the wonderful Mrs. Hall discovered the money had gone, and it was swiftly plugged by the generous donations of our Patreons. So thank you very, very much. You have saved Ben's
genuinely
soul.
Thank you very, very much. Because I had completely forgotten it was coming out. Annual payments are a bit like that, really, aren't they? They are, yeah. So
yeah, thank you all. Please do go to the hobby group, get involved. We are really excited about the podcast over the next, in the foreseeable future. We've got some cool hobby projects we're working on. We're going to be talking to you guys about. And back to 2 weeks now from now. And more people on board. So, yeah, good times.
I'm going to finish with a bit of homework. So we do loads of shout outs for people because we think it's awesome to bring people together and create hobby communities across the internet, in the local area, any way we can. What I would really appreciate people doing is if you have a particular podcast or hobby blog or local gaming store or something that you'd like to shout out, then it would be really wicked if you could drop a Twitter post or tag them in Instagram or give us a shout out on Facebook to show us who these people are, because I'd love for people to have that streaming across their feed of super awesome content. So now we will know if you've listened to the end of a podcast. All right.
We will see. Well, Ben, it has been a pleasure as ever.
That said with the most sarcastic grin I've ever seen on your face. You're just rude, man.
I'm not rude. I'm I'm just truthful.
Oh, someone come and get a knife from my back.
Oh, dearie dear. Okay, guys, thank you very much. We hope you've enjoyed episode 47, and we'll see you for episode 48.
Bye.
Mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day to find our long forgotten gold. The pines were roaring on the height, the winds were moaning in the night. The fire was red, it flamed and spread. The trees like torches blazed with light.